Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the ACW Newscast. I am Hakeem Johnson. Whoa, that was close. Your ACW commentator, as always. And tonight, we are going to talk about the main event of all that is when it comes to WWE pay-per-views, which is WrestleMania. We are going to talk about WrestleMania 35. A bit of a recap from my perspective. Um, first of all, first things first, because I like to always check. Everybody can hear me through the microphone okay. I just want to make sure that is fine for all of you guys. So I'll just give you guys a few seconds to catch up as I await here, all alone, in the dark. Not in the dark, but you get what I meant. Yes, sir. Yep. All right, cool. We're good. Okay, so we are going to talk about WrestleMania 35, the pre-show and the main show. We're going to talk about it, and I'll give you my perspective, my thoughts, my opinions on all the matches. We're also going to talk about the aftermaths of WrestleMania with Raw and SmackDown, and among other things that even were released today here as we speak on Thursday, April 11th. And we're also going to let you have your questions be answered. As always, I love having you guys answer. Your questions always posted for me to answer. I always love doing that for you guys, so we will definitely get into that. Ask any question that you would like to ask. Post it on the live chat, and I will get to it. But that'll be later on within the telecast, if you will. But first things first, we're going to talk about WrestleMania. We're going to go match for match down the line, as in terms of what is in store, what does things mean in the future. So, a little bit of a warning, however. I do want to say this, however. I do want to say that I may have a few people come in as special guests to help me out with this whole thing. So, just be on the lookout for that. So, in case anyone pops in, they will come in and speak their opinions as well. So, but that'll be later on if they choose to pop in at any time. So, I have on my handy dandy phone here. We're going to talk about all the matches that took place at WrestleMania this past Sunday. Now, I want to give you a little bit of a backstory before we begin here. I was at my friend's house. I was at my friend's place, watching WrestleMania. Because what better way to watch WrestleMania than with a couple of people that really do watch WrestleMania or watch wrestling in general like that. So, now going into it, if you followed me through Twitter, social media, whatever, you already know that I wasn't hyped about WrestleMania this year. I thought this road to WrestleMania was one of the weakest and most mediocre road to WrestleManias I have ever witnessed in recent time. So the expectation was low going in. I do want to also preface by saying that there were other festivities that happened before WrestleMania. You had WrestleMania weekend, obviously a staple within the wrestling community. I just will give you some quick synopsis on a couple of things. I thought the G1 special that New Japan held and Ring of Honor apparently did. I thought they did a phenomenal job. At least New Japan did a phenomenal job. I thought Ring of Honor shit the bed really bad, but I'll get more in depth into that if you people continue to ask that question during the Q&A portion of the newscast. Also, I thought Impact and MLW had some solid shows, some production issues on both ends, but I thought they had a solid show for what it was. The Spring Break was pretty cool. Although I didn't think it was better than the previous encounters, I thought the Spring Break from Joey Janela was pretty okay, was pretty good for what it was. But yeah, so I was watching stuff like that. So it gets to then the Hall of Fame ceremony. I didn't get to watch it live. I was doing something else. But I will say I heard about the whole Bret Hart situation. I will also get into that during the Q&A portion if you ask me that question. It disgusted me. I was irritated. And I will leave it at that. I'll get more into that. Because if I speak on it now, we're going to get distracted with WrestleMania. But I'll just let you know from the jump. There's a reason why wrestling fans deserve the shit they get when they do stupid shit like that. So, after that, now we're here at WrestleMania, right? We're here at WrestleMania. I'm with my friends and watching it. I'm drunk off my ass. I'm eating chicken. I'm eating all types of chips and barbecue, some that I brought and cooked myself. I was doing that. Um, so again, a couple of things though. Um, the stage. I thought it was a downgrade compared to recent WrestleMania stages. I thought the stage was pretty basic. I don't mind the big giant screen, but for what WrestleMania tends to put up in terms of presentation and overall entertainment, I thought the stage itself was pretty bland this year. That's just my opinion. You can put that for like budget cuts or whatever, but I just thought it wasn't all that good this year. Um, there wasn't that much many surprises either, which I don't really hate. But there wasn't that much surprises in terms of the nostalgia, which I don't mind. But it's WrestleMania to where you can get away with stuff like that, so I would have liked that. There was one surprise, one nostalgia appearance that did happen, and I will get to that later on as we get close to that segment. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna go down the list. I am reading the results through Bleacher Reports, so I'm just gonna go down the order that they have them, and we'll just go from there. So first things first, pre-show. The Cruiserweight Championship opened. It was Buddy Murphy, the champion, walking in, defending the title against Tony Nese, who won the tournament that was happening in past weeks on 205 Live. Tony Nese obviously is a Jersey native. Um, this match, it was a great. I thought it was a great start to start off WrestleMania, at least the pre-show. I thought Tony Nese really played to his strengths. I thought he was a great straight man to Buddy Murphy's high eccentric offensive maneuvers. I thought going into it that Buddy Murphy was going to retain the title. Buddy Murphy has had a nice momentum, has had a hot streak with that title. But I guess maybe because of the hometown perspective, but I guess they wanted to go with Tony Nese, as Tony Nese did eventually defeat Buddy Murphy to become the new cruiserweight champion. Um, I'm I like Buddy Murphy. I think Buddy Murphy is one of the most underappreciated talents in the company today. I think he's better than a cruiserweight champion in my opinion. But I think it really accentuated what he can really do for the company. Now, be that as it may, as much as Buddy Murphy had a great hot streak with that title, I guess I can understand from the WWE's perspective, they want to get it on a guy like Tony Nese to try to be able to establish new faces to challenge the heel in Tony Nese. So I thought it was a great match to start the show. Kudos go to Tony Nese for winning it. Buddy Murphy had a great reign, and I think he's somebody that this company should not lose. And I think it's somebody, you're pushing the likes of Mustafa Ali and Andrade up the ranks. I think Buddy Murphy deserves to be in that echelon of those people as well because he's that good. And all kudos go to Buddy Murphy, and kudos to Tony Nese becoming the new Cruiserweight champion at WrestleMania 35. Then we get to the Women's Battle Royal. And from my list here, I'm seeing here it was Maria Kanellis, Nikki Cross, Candice LeRae from NXT, Ember Moon coming back from injury, Naomi, Lana, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, Mickie James, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Sarah Logan, Kairi Sane from NXT, obviously, Zelina Vegas, Carmella, and Dana Brooke. I thought the Women's Battle Royal was what it was. It was just something to kind of cool down the aftermath of the Cruiserweight title match. Also to get as much women as possible in that match for a paycheck. And obviously, Asuka was in there as well. I don't want to forget Asuka. But you can't blame me because apparently the WWE has forgotten about Asuka these past couple of weeks leading to WrestleMania. And I have to mention this because I don't think I mentioned it far enough on the newscast as of late. But it was a big disservice what this company has done to Asuka. People can talk about how she can't speak perfect English. She can't really verbally be clear in her promos. People can talk about how Charlotte needed to win the SmackDown Women's title to make the main event more important. But at the end of the day, Asuka deserves way more than what she was given. And she deserved a damn bit more of respect, in my opinion, than to be curtain jerking in the pre-show, along with the Cruiserweight title. Asuka is a talent that doesn't have much years left. People think that she's young. She's getting close to 40. That's not to say that they won't use her in a certain way, but Asuka's getting there in age. You don't waste her years that are crucial to her right now for nonsense like this. Will Asuka will Asuka get another shot? I don't know. It's possible, but this is not the way you build her back up. NXT did it right. And as long as that went, at least NXT understood that Asuka being the silent killer was what got over with the fans, with the crowd. And she made her opponents look better as a result. But now she's become this more comedic relief. And let's be honest and call it the way we see it. She's more of a comedic relief to where she's being used to enhance other people to get them over. Hell, I thought Mandy Rose was winning the whole thing, eliminating Asuka last. That's how much little of an importance that Asuka has become as of late. And Asuka didn't even win the damn Rumble. The damn Battle Royal. She didn't even win it. Now, Sarah Logan getting this little bit of a push, I don't mind that because you want to be able to give opportunities where you can give them. So I didn't mind that. But then Carmella being the one to be victorious, I get it. She's from, Staten Island, New York, New Jersey. I get the whole thing. I get it. I really do. But if you're not going to do anything with Carmella to where this is going to mean anything, then what ultimately was this done for? I get it. It was done to give these ladies a paycheck and an appearance for WrestleMania. But if you're not going to capitalize with Carmella anyway in the future, why give it to her? And if you're not going to go with Asuka at the very least, then if that's the case, you could have given it to a Sonya Deville. You could have given it to a Mandy Rose. Hell, you could have went ahead and gone with Naomi again. You could have went ahead and gone with Ember Moon, just coming back from injury. You could have gone with Nikki Cross, who hasn't really done anything since being called up from NXT. There were many options to go that could have benefited you long term if you played the cards right. But instead, as much as I understand that you gave Carmella this win for the hometown pop yet again, it ultimately isn't going to mean anything, and no one's going to look back at it as something great at the end of the day. Carmella wins. It is what it is. Whatever. The next match, however, for the Raw Tag Team Championships, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, the former Edgeheads, the Major Brothers, if you will, challenging against the Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. Dash Wilder being a overnight sensation from the previous night at the Hall of Fame. Shout outs to Dash. But again, this was very put together. The whole Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins thing was put together a little bit, but I understood due to their history that it would work, and it has worked. The Revival, let's be honest, first things first. The Revival were only champions so that they didn't leave to go to AEW. And they're probably still going to go there regardless. I want to make that very clear. I think people are getting confused to think Revival were a great tag team championship reign. They really weren't. They were placeholders to get them to WrestleMania at hopes to make them resign. But now that we know certain things, that's probably not going to happen. The Revival haven't been happy with their position in the company. That's been very clear. A lot of people, a lot of WWE marks, want to be all pseudo-intellectual and try to convince you otherwise that they're working us. Everyone's working everybody, apparently. No, I think some people are really just frustrated with their position, and they're looking for an alternative, a true one, and a true alternative to where they don't have to rely on the WWE teat to survive anymore. So, the Revival wanted out. Vince, Triple H, whoever was in charge of this whole decision, put the titles on the Revival as a leverage play to keep them and make them resign. Unfortunately, it didn't work. Because Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins are now the tag team champions. And I'm okay with it. Zack Ryder getting another WrestleMania moment for him, becoming a champion at a WrestleMania after winning the Intercontinental title the previous year. I'm fine and perfectly okay with this. What that tells me is a lot of things that the Revival are probably going to leave. If they re-sign, that's on them. Then they are stupid for trying to complain about their position, but then not have the balls to actually bet on themselves and go for that alternative. But that's probably telling me that the Revival, their time is probably winding down in WWE. It also tells me that Zach and Kurt will probably be transitional champions. Kurt Hawkins finally breaking his streak and becoming a winner. And even that wasn't really emphasized enough as it could have been. You've had Kurt Hawkins lose for many, many months and years at this point, and when he wins it, it's like, eh. That just tells me that the payoff wasn't as strong as it could have been. So I'm happy for Zach and Kurt. They, win the tag team titles. Hell, at least at least one Kurt in this WrestleMania had to be a winner throughout the night. That's for damn sure. But we'll get to that other one in a bit. But yeah, so it was a pretty solid tag team match for what is considered. But yeah, and then we get to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Wow, that is a mouthful to say. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. There we go. So, I'm not going to list everybody that was in the Battle Royal. You know the players. There's the Hardy Boys. There's Jinder Mahal, Ali. You know, Andrade, Lucha House Party, Braun Strowman, obviously, and then you obviously had the Saturday Night Live co-host in Colin Jost and Michael Che. Um, I their involvement wasn't anything special. It was pretty much a waste of time. It didn't really amount to anything at the end of the day. It was just nothing. It didn't really mean anything at the end of the day. So you know they were just there to try to do something with Braun. Braun Strowman, obviously the favorite, and obviously ended up being the one to win the whole battle royal. Man, Braun Strowman, dude, I am impressed with how much WWE shit the bed with Braun. They were literally given a silver platter for Braun Strowman to be that guy. After Roman didn't work, after Seth didn't work, after Brock damn sure didn't work, after John Cena has been delegated to part-time activities, when The Undertaker is pretty much non-existent, when Triple H is now an executive, you needed that guy to be able to say, we can put the company behind him for the next decade. And they've had multiple chances to go with Braun Strowman, especially as hot as he was when he could have taken the title off of Brock Lesnar multiple times last year, and they never pulled the trigger. And now you see that Braun Strowman has suffered from that. Braun Strowman is still over, but not as over as it used to be. Nowhere near as over as he was back in 2017 and the early part of 2018. Braun Strowman now is no more now than a big giant that gets his victories here and there. Instead of him being the next John Cena, he's now become the next Big Show. And that's a damn shame, because John Cena, as much as people give him flack, is a guy that overall can get people to emote a reaction. And that's why he was on top for so long, whether you loved him or hate him. Braun Strowman was white hot. And now instead of him becoming that John Cena type of guy you need for the decade going forward, now he's going to be no longer that. I think the ship has sailed, in my opinion. Now he's going to be just relegated to being the next Big Show. And that's a shame, because Braun deserved better. The fans that were behind Braun deserved better. And it's a damn shame. So Braun wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, whatever match you want to call it. It doesn't mean a damn thing. We know the history of the winners of this match. It hasn't amounted or relegated to anything. Okay, it really hasn't. Big Show has won it. Cesaro has won it. Matt Hardy has won it. It hasn't amounted to anything, and it won't probably amount to anything for Braun either, and that's unfortunate. So, other than that, that was your pre-show of WrestleMania 35. That was your pre-show of WrestleMania 35. It was what it was. I thought the Cruiserweight match was the standout star of that pre-show, but then it started to just kind of deteriorate from there. But then we get to the main card, right? We get to the main card of WrestleMania 35. And let me get my water here, because this is going to be a long one. Trust me. and I have a lot to say about it. Speaking of long, I want to address this point too. WWE, you need to cut your damn shows in terms of the time length. Now, for all the people that are going to say, well, you people watch New Japan shows and they go longer than they stay at night too. That's different. And even then, a lot of people don't even watch it live because some people have to go to work in the morning. Some people have to go to school in the morning. Some people have to do this and that. Some people don't really watch it live like that unless you're really a die-in-the-wool New Japan hardcore fan. But WWE is in New Japan. Wrestle Kingdom is in WrestleMania. It's two different dichotomies. It's two different situations here. WrestleMania has become a global phenomenon, and it's more for the casual audience that follows wrestling than it is, say, a Wrestle Kingdom. So when you go too long, and especially when you're there in New York, New Jersey, I can understand the transit and the travel to get back on time home or in your hotel is going to be a bitch to get through. So, luckily, from me here being in the Pacific, you know, it went to like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and even then I was like kind of just tired. Granted, I was drunk as shit. Not too drunk, but I was drunk enough. So it didn't, I mean, maybe that was just me being tired. But at the end of the day, it went too long. There was too much filler in that show for you to warrant that much length of time. You need to cut the filler. You need to cut and trim the fat so where you can condense it to able to get more bang for your buck. Now I get it. You don't really give a damn because you're not really going after the pay-per-view audience. There really isn't. Now that you have the WWE Network, there really is no reason to go after that 50, 60, $70 guy that's going to pay it on pay-per-view when you can only pay for $10 essentially on the WWE Network. I get it. But just understand that there's people all around the world that aren't going to just stay late to watch WrestleMania like that, especially if that WrestleMania isn't going to be any good. So you can't just be that cocky and arrogant thinking everyone's going to just drop what they're doing and watch WrestleMania for that long. It's very short-sighted in my opinion. But Alexa Bliss, the host of WrestleMania this year, kicked it off. Alexa Bliss didn't really do anything either. She was just really there to introduce things here and there, but she didn't really do anything that warranted her as a host. So probably a bit of a missed opportunity there. But yeah, as that happened, Hulk Hogan showed up at the start of the show, which was expected. The WWE has now embraced themselves to bring back Hulk Hogan. Obviously, everyone knows why Hulk Hogan was pretty much persona non grata for the past couple of recent years. I won't go into that. I have already, so I won't go into it. But Hulk Hogan is back now. What's happened is what happened. The crowd still loves Hogan. As much shit as Hogan has done that was irreprehensible, Hulk Hogan is wrestling. When you think of wrestling, you think of Hulk Hogan. He's the reason why pro wrestling is the way it is. This isn't a Chris Benoit situation. There's no way you can tell the story of professional wrestling without Hulk Hogan, and that's a fact. So, it is what it is with that sense. But Hulk Hogan came out, did his little spiel, the crowd loved it, good way to pop the crowd to get invested into WrestleMania. And then Paul Heyman comes out, interrupts Hulk Hogan. Who the hell was calling Paul Heyman interrupting Hulk Hogan in 1992? When Paul Heyman was just a mere manager for the Dangerous Alliance, while Hulk Hogan was the biggest name in the world. Who would have called that bet in 92? But here's Paul Heyman interrupting Hulk Hogan. That was crazy to me. But, so, a little shocked here, but the Universal title match is what's going to kick off WrestleMania. That was a bit, unexpected. I thought it would have been a little bit later, until I understood why. The Universal title was on the line. Champion Brock Lesnar defending the title against Seth Rollins, the challenger, the man that won the Men's Royal Rumble this year to get that opportunity. A couple of things, and I won't go too long. I don't want to go too long on one match in particular, but first things first. I like Paul Heyman. I really do. Paul Heyman is one of the greatest managers of our industry. Paul Heyman has done a lot of things. He's one of the great talkers in modern history, if not ever. But man, if you've heard one Paul Heyman promo at this point in 2019, you've heard them all. Like, Paul, you've got to change it up, dude. You can't just keep saying the same spiel every single time. People keep thinking that you have to keep doing a work shoot style promo. And I'm here to tell you that work shoot style promos are passe now. They're no longer important. They're no longer special. They're no longer unique. When everyone's doing it, it no longer becomes real. It just becomes fake as it was real. I think you differentiate yourself now if you don't go that route. I think Paul Heyman sometimes relies on that to pump up Brock Lesnar. But be that as that may, Brock Lesnar comes out and the crowd is not having it. Quite frankly, I am sick of Brock Lesnar as Universal Champion. It has really done nothing in the business end of things. It hasn't been a ratings draw. It hasn't been an attendance draw. He's not a champion that people are looking into as something as a representative of the company. Just him as a champion is pretty much dead on arrival. So it had to end one way, and that was Seth Rollins, who came out to a very interesting presentation, by the way, as the Beast Slayer now, not the King Slayer, but the Beast Slayer apparently. But Seth Rollins coming out. It was a short match. It wasn't anything special. It is what it is. I understood that from the get-go that it wouldn't be anything long, or it wouldn't be anything particularly special. I completely understand that. Seth Rollins wins after, I believe, 3 curb stomps against Brock Lesnar. The Beast has been slayed. Seth Rollins is your new Universal Champion. Now, people are going to complain about the match quality, yada, yada, yada. I don't really give a damn. At the end of the day, the title is finally off Brock Lesnar. It is finally off Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins, after years, in my quite honest opinion, a guy that a lot of you try to prop up as the man or as the guy that should be the face of the company. And I wasn't one of those people. I thought his first world title reign, quite frankly, was shit. I thought it was the worst out of the 3 Shield members that were world champions, in my opinion. I didn't think Seth Rollins was all that good. And he was, and despite him having the great matches that he did have, he wasn't anybody that you would see as a face of the company. And he was pretty much on stagnant for a while. But at the end of the day, he finally defeats Brock Lesnar. No Money in the Bank nonsense. Finally defeats him after 3 curb stomps. Finally defeats Lesnar. He is your new Universal Champion. We finally have a Universal Champion that will finally show up more than once a month. And quite frankly, Seth Rollins may be the first Universal Champion that's legitimate. Because look at the lineage of the Universal Championship. It's nonsense. It's garbage. Finn got hurt before he can really defend it. I really wasn't all that impressed with Kevin Owens' reign. Goldberg had his nostalgia reign. And then it was really Brock Lesnar all in between. So if you really think about it, Seth Rollins truly is the first legitimate Universal Champion. Now, what they do with him afterwards remains to be seen. We don't know. But at the moment, I'm fine with Seth Rollins winning the title here. I'm fine with him defeating Brock Lesnar. I am fine with the way the match was set and done. It didn't have to be a 15 to 20 minute long match for no damn reason. It was just a match that was understood to what the story was telling and what it needed to be told at that moment. I am perfectly fine with Seth Rollins being the new Universal Champion. So, A+ to him for that. So far, so good for right now, WrestleMania 35. Then we get to the next match. AJ Styles going one-on-one against Randy Orton. This match, the story was pretty much thrown together. It was more so the fact, oh shit, we don't have really anything for Styles or Orton. Let's just have them wrestle at WrestleMania, and we'll just, shoot our way through the story to make it somewhat sensible to the fans. I'm not trying to shit on the quality of the match. The match was good. But here's the reason why I have a problem with Raw and SmackDown always having 15 to 20 minute matches for the most part. Because it doesn't differentiate itself from a pay-per-view or special event when it comes up. Because at the end of the day, the Styles-Orton match, it was a very good match. But it was a very good match you could have saw on SmackDown. But for what you're looking for at a WrestleMania, I didn't think it really got into that gear. Because we've been so used to Raw and SmackDown giving you those type of matches that at a WrestleMania, you expected more. That's why when you try to do too much, because at the end of the day, Raw and SmackDown, their purpose for Raw and SmackDown, or at least what it used to be, TV shows are used to primarily sell the pay-per-views. And I think this is something not only that wrestling companies need to understand, I think a lot of CAW leagues need to understand this as well. Your main shows, or your television shows, quote unquote, are only there to sell the mega events or special events or pay-per-views that you're putting out. That's what they're there for. Really nothing else. I'm not saying that you can't have those epic matches here and there, once in a while. I'm not saying you can't have like a Shawn Michaels versus John Cena 1 hour long match, Iron Man match here and there. But what I am saying though is that the matches that you're seeing now on Raw and SmackDown, they don't really differentiate themselves to the pay-per-view matches now. So when you get something like Styles and Orton, which they did really great work in terms of the ring, you've seen that already. You've seen that already. And I'm seeing from UWL Jeremy here, yeah, don't blow your load on free TV. If you want to learn one of the secret traits of ACW, that's one of them. You see me, I don't really blow my load when it comes to ACW matches. Yeah, there's a lot of good matches on Excel and Impulse, but you save them for the mega events, so where people do want to see more of it. They're more enticed to watch it with the mega events. Styles and Orton had a very good SmackDown main event match, but in my opinion, it wasn't up to main event quality tier. It just wasn't. And that's not Styles and Orton's fault. They did what they were supposed to do. They did what they were asked to do. They put on a stellar match for what they can do. But for what you're expecting at WrestleMania, and for how much Raw and SmackDown put those type of matches out, it didn't stand out as unique. It really didn't. And that's unfortunate because they deserve more than that. So at this point, I don't really hate this WrestleMania. I'm actually kind of enjoying it. I already think it's already better than last year's. But that was a little just thing I noticed that where it wasn't special. It just wasn't. So then we get to the next match. Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. The Usos, the defending champions, take on The Bar, Cesaro, and Sheamus. Nakamura Day, I guess you can call it, with Shinsuke and Rusev. And the call-ups from NXT, Aleister Black and Ricochet. Aleister Black and Ricochet debuting in their first WrestleMania, so a big moment for them as well. I actually really enjoyed this matchup. I actually did enjoy this tag team match. I thought all four of them put in work with what they needed to do and what their strengths were to do. I think we need to really start talking about the Usos in the sense that I think at the end of the day, and I know a lot of old school fans, me included being one of them, they may be taken aback a little bit. But I think we need to start talking about the Usos being considered one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. I think it's time that we start really having that discussion. Don't get me wrong, you've got your Hart Foundation, you've got your Steiner Brothers, you've got your Demolition, you've got your Legion of Doom, you've got your Hardy Boys, you've got your Edge and Christian, you've got your Dudleys. You've got all the great tag teams from the past. But if there is one tag team, if you were to ask me, who in the modern era, who in this quote-unquote reality era would be the tag team that you would put up against all the other tag teams in the past, I am choosing the Usos every damn time. The Usos are just the greatest tag team that company has had in the past decade. And quite frankly, they can be argued as one of the best tag teams in any wrestling company this past decade. Period. Every tag team they have fought, whether they were champions or not, they have had great matches with them. Everyone. There hasn't been a bad Usos match. You name one. And if you can't name one, there's going to only be one hand you can count with them. They really can't happen like that. Can you imagine the Usos wrestling the Hart Foundation in their prime? Can you imagine the Usos wrestling the Legion of Doom back in the day? Can you imagine the Usos wrestling Edge and Christian, the Hardys and Dudleys, back in the prime era of the TLC match? The Usos, in my opinion, I know people respect them and adore them and love them already, but I think they truly do need to be etched as a top 10 tag team in WWE history. That's my opinion. I understand some people may not agree with that. That's fine. I understand it. But I think the Usos deserve that respect, and I think the Usos deserve to be given that much accolade as one of the best tag teams that company has ever produced, and that is a fact. And I don't want to discredit the other teams. The Bar has been one of the better tag teams this past 5 years or so. Sheamus and Cesaro, two men that weren't doing anything singles-wise up to this point, put in a tag team as a makeshift tag team. They have now made it work to where they look like a legitimate tag team. They deserve credit as well. You got Shinsuke and Rusev, two men that a lot of fans were behind when they were single stars. Rusev back in 2014. Shinsuke this recent as last year. He was competing against AJ Styles in that disappointing world title match. But nonetheless, he was fighting for the world title at Wrestlemania last year. But two men that haven't really done much, and two men that this company has not used to their full advantage, they were paired together and they put in work. Shinsuke Nakamura actually working. A lot of people give him criticism for not really working, being lazy in the ring, and quite frankly, a lot of that is validated. By the end of the day, Nakamura and Rusev, they were cohesive on this night. And then Aleister Black and Ricochet showcasing and showing out why they are arguably the two best talents from NXT up until that point. Now, granted, I was iffy with Aleister Black being called up as a teammate with Ricochet. I don't really follow NXT like that, because I really don't watch a television show like that. But for what they were meaning to do, with it being a big stage for them, Aleister and Ricochet showed out and showed why they are the tag teams to be recognized. And I think they showcased and did a lot here in their first WrestleMania. But at the end of the day, the Usos retain. I'm perfectly fine with that. Granted, now they're no longer the champions, and I'll get to that later on. But again, the Usos being outstanding once again. Again, just being an elite tag team, and actually being an elite tag team. You don't just say it on name only. The Usos are one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. End of discussion for me, at least. And the Usos continue to show you, Jimmy and Jay continue to show you each and every single time why those two ball out every single night that they're put out there. So congratulations go to Jimmy and Jay Uso at WrestleMania for retaining the tag team titles. And then next we get to the Falls Count Anywhere match between The Miz and Shane McMahon. That was the next match on the card. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Initially, I thought, just like everyone thought, that The Miz would turn on Shane, and that this would be Shane's WrestleMania match, which it ended up being anyways. I thought it would be Miz turning here, because Miz is such a great heel, he can make it work to where Shane would get that much sympathy. Not like really Shane needs it, because Shane is beloved anyways throughout the crowd. I have to give WWE credit, though. They were able, though, to make Shane play the heel and actually make Miz sympathetic. Which I was initially worried for at first, because Miz isn't all that good of a babyface, if you recall. And Shane McMahon, I thought would be too beloved to where that wouldn't work with Shane being a heel. It would work with Stephanie. It would work with Triple H. It would damn sure work with Vince. But Shane's always that one McMahon that would always be beloved by the fans. So they turned him. But after him winning Crown Jewel as being the quote-unquote best wrestler in the world, which is obviously a dig at CM Punk if you guys haven't caught that. But it is a dig. But nonetheless, Shane has made it work. He has really come off as a complete, utter, spoiled brat asshole. So going into this matchup, I wanted to see how they were going to do it. Now, granted, if you were expecting the Shane McMahon from SummerSlam 2000 against, I think it was Test, you weren't going to get that. Steve Blackman, you weren't going to get that. If you were expecting the Shane McMahon from King of the Ring 2001 with Kurt Angle, you weren't probably going to get that either. But Shane McMahon, you got to understand, Shane doesn't have to be doing this stuff anymore. He doesn't have to do this anymore, and he continues to do it. Now, granted, a lot of people argue that Shane McMahon wrestling at the main card of WrestleMania takes up a spot from somebody that could really use it that's up and coming on the roster. But at the end of the day, let's be quite honest, folks. Name me an NXT wrestler right now that's anywhere near the draw that Shane McMahon is. You're not going to do it. You're not going to dare try to do it with me, because the answer is there is none. Shane McMahon in his own right amongst the WWE fans and amongst the wrestling community in general is the bigger draw. And this is WrestleMania. This is where the casual fans most likely are going to watch WWE at its apex. You're going to need all the star power you can get, and Shane McMahon is a star compared to any NXT wrestler you want to name. It is what it is. We get to the match. Shane and Miz going balls to the wall. Miz being a sympathetic face where the crowd was cheering for him. Shane McMahon getting boos. They were doing what they were supposed to do. Granted, Miz's father coming in and doing that whole thing, as much of a meme as that's become as of late, I kind of thought it was silly. Didn't really need it. I mean, if you wanted to attack him, or if you wanted Mr. Miz, I guess you want to call him that. If you wanted him to low blow Shane or something like that, I'm cool with all that. But I didn't think that was really needed per se. That's all I'm saying. But we get to the ending. Miz and Shane taking that suplex off the scaffold there. That was crazy. Shane McMahon wins the match, however, which at first I was like, why would he win it when the Miz is the one that would need it more at the point? But at the end of the day, if we're gonna continue the story, then you need Shane to win it. More so if you're having Shane gonna go to this tangent of being the best in the world and be this obnoxious douche to where anyone that's gonna face him is gonna come off better off for it, then maybe Shane did need to win it here. So again, another great Mania performance from Shane McMahon. The Miz stepped up, as great as he's been. The Miz, you've already heard me about my opinions with the Miz as of late in recent newscasts. The Miz is one of the best characters, one of the best talkers in that company. I wanted him to be a world champion this year, and I still think he should be world champion this year. Miz has been putting on work, and I think he deserves another world title reign. I really do believe Miz. At this point, face or heel doesn't really matter to me. I think Miz deserves another world title reign. I think it's unfortunate that ill-fated title reign back in 2010 that ended with that match at 27 with Cena that kind of stopped people from taking him seriously as a world title contender. I think it's unfortunate because I think Miz deserves more than that. I think Miz has redeemed himself from that year, from that Mania match at 27. That's just my opinion. But Miz loses to Shane McMahon, and there you have it. So, then we get to the next matchup here. Another Fatal 4-Way match, but this time for the women's tag team titles. You've got Sasha Banks and Bayley, the Boston Hug Connection, if you will, as the defending champions, defended against Nia Jax and Tamina. The Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, and the reuniting Divas of Doom and Natalya and Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix, who looked in great shape, by the way. This match, wasn't all that good. Gonna be quite honest with you. Beth looked in good shape, like I said. She looked like she can still go in the ring if she wanted to. But I see that Bayley and Sasha are trying to keep things cohesive in certain ways, but I just didn't think it worked. I thought the Iconics were sloppy in a lot of spots. Tamina and Nia were Tamina and Nia. But yeah, apparently the Iconics are the new women's tag team champions. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce win the tag team titles at WrestleMania 35. Now, because I already see it mentioned in the chat room already, but I understand that there have been some developing stories as it pertains to Sasha Banks. I will address those later in the newscast, so I'm very aware as to what those developing stories are. But I will say this, I will say this, I'm going to say this about that though. I do think it's kind of bullshit that you were trying to entrust Sasha and Bayley to be the women's tag team champions in this historic way, and then come WrestleMania, they look like chumps losing it to the Iconics, who were the weakest team in that match. I do think it's kind of BS. And again, it's just another way of undermining Sasha and Bayley. Let's just keep it real here. You know, the four horsewomen, obviously Charlotte's legacy is pretty much cemented. Becky's legacy is pretty much cemented at this point. We'll get to those matches in a bit. But now you've got Sasha and Bayley picking up the rear of the four horsewomen. Sasha Banks, every time she wins a title, she immediately loses it And the trend continues here. Bayley hasn't been looked as credible or even really existent or even relevant since her awful title reign as Raw Women's Champion. So it kind of sucks in that sense that, once again, Bayley and Sasha get shafted. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I mean, you can't blame anyone. You can't blame anyone but the people that are high on top. And unfortunately, I guess Bayley and Sasha were told that they were going to drop those titles, and it's unfortunate. It sucks. But the Iconics are walking out as your new Raw. I mean, yeah, we're new women's tag team champions. So it is what it is. Again, I just didn't like it. I thought it was slow. I didn't think it was anything special. I thought it was just filler. And you'll realize throughout these matches here tonight that there was a lot of filler going around. There was a lot of filler that was happening. And like I said, the length of the matches are too damn long, man. I get that you're trying to fit everybody at WrestleMania to get them paid, to get them an appearance, to get them royalties. I get that. It's all fine and good. I'm all for that. But if you're gonna do that, at least make sure the matches have some sort of emotional investment into it. Because when you don't, then this is what happens. You have filler that didn't necessarily have to be in the show, to where it drags the show, to where the show doesn't get to accomplish what it needs to do, and that is to entertain. This is WrestleMania. That is what it's supposed to do. So you're getting long in the tooth here by continuing to do all this stuff. So it's, again, unfortunate, but that's the kind of thing you have to deal with. But without that withstanding, so far it's been a pretty solid WrestleMania here. And this next matchup here made it a good Mania. WWE Championship match. Daniel Bryan, the champion, walking in, defends it against Kofi Kingston. I will go in depth on this, because I have a lot to say in many ways. I know that there were a lot of talks prior to this match about certain connotations being placed upon this build from the Jim Rosses and the JBLs and what have you. And I get that. Because ultimately you try to watch pro wrestling to escape the realities that our world places upon you. I get that. And quite frankly, this storyline was built up pretty rushed. Originally, Mustafa Ali was supposed to be in this position had he not been injured, which would have made for a great story in its own right, too. So Kofi Kingston was put in place to this. And even I argued that Big E should have been the one to do this. Big E should have been the one to be in this position and not Kofi. I said that. I am here to tell you, though, and I want to be very clear what I'm about to say. I am here to say that I'm completely wrong. I'm gonna say it because I don't mind being wrong. I don't mind when I am wrong. I have no problem admitting that. If you already know me, I was wrong. Hakeem Johnson was wrong. This should have been Kofi from the get go. Kofi Kingston has been in this company for over 10 years. Kofi Kingston has won a lot of titles and has had a lot of stellar matches. I remember being, what was it, 2021, when Kofi Kingston was facing Randy Orton for the WWE Championship and was being built as a big deal, and how excited I was. It didn't matter how bad the product was. I couldn't give a damn. I took my hat off and said to myself, I need to enjoy this as a fan because of what it means. Obviously, Kofi didn't get pushed correctly in that era at that time for obvious reasons. But as I sit here older now and have experienced a lot of things in life, as a human being, as an American, and as a black man, this moment means a lot. Now, I know people were uncomfortable with the whole race aspect of this story. But quite frankly, a lot of people need to understand this as well. As much as you escape from reality when you watch pro wrestling, it does reflect on pop culture. It does reflect on what the society we're in is. And quite frankly, and I don't want to get too political here, because that's not what I'm going to do here. I don't want to do that. But there's a lot of people like me that feel underappreciated, that feel unjust, that feel and are looked upon differently than certain other people. When you look at this company, they haven't had a true black world champion. I'm not even mentioning African American. I'm not even mentioning black people that were born in this country. I'm talking about anywhere else in the world. They have never had a black world champion. Now, I want all of you that are going to do it to pump your brakes. Do not mention The Rock on this chat. Do not mention Booker T on this chat. Do not mention Mark Henry on this chat. The Rock, yes, he is half black, and he is essentially black in terms of his ethnicity. But The Rock has always embraced his Samoan side when he talks about his career and his legacy with the WWE. You've watched all the interviews, the documentaries, and the video packages. The Rock has embraced more of his Samoan side than his black side. I'm not trying to judge Dwayne Johnson for that, but that is the truth of the matter. Booker T, Mark Henry, they won the World Heavyweight Championship, the second tier title to the WWE Championship. The WWE Championship has always and will forever will be. Doesn't matter what brand it's in. Doesn't matter who's holding it. The WWE Championship is what's the representation of that company. The World Heavyweight Championship comes from as a loan from World Championship Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance. That's their lineage. And even then, they try to wash that out to try to establish a new lineage. So that excuse doesn't work either. The World Heavyweight Championship was damn near the level of the Intercontinental title back in those days that Booker T and Mark Henry won it. And as much as I loved Mark Henry's world title reign, as much as I was enjoying Booker T's title reign as world champion, those don't equate as WWE Championship reigns. No matter what spin any WWE shill or mark will tell you otherwise, those aren't the WWE World Title reigns we're talking about here. And people should know better than that to be that insulting. Don't insult my intelligence. I know that they're world champions, but they were never the face or representation of that company. Not even once. So other than those three, you really haven't had a black world champion. And I get it. You don't want to be necessarily called race baiting for it. But this isn't a sport. As much as I love pro wrestling, it's not a sport. It's not a legitimate sport. It's not football or basketball or baseball or hockey or soccer where the competitiveness of the sport is determined on your skill and talent. This is professional wrestling. And the fact that we're in 2019 and we still can't be able to say that there has been a world champion for as a black person is ridiculous. And there's no way to spin it. Trust me, people that know me know that I don't like to pull the race card. I think that people that pull a race card do it for their own ulterior motives and their own selfish benefits. I'm not that guy. So don't come at me saying that I'm race baiting or that I'm being a separatist or that I'm only here just because I'm trying to be an advocate for black people or shit like that. You know damn better not to try that card with me. So don't even try it. Don't even try it with me. But the fact of the matter remains that Kofi Kingston has been here for 10 plus goddamn years. And on this night, he gets to shine the most brightest that he has ever been. On a night where it was initially not even planned for him to be in this world title match. In a night where Kofi Kingston last year was hosting the goddamn event. Wasn't even really in a match. After 10 plus years of doing what he was asked to do, winning titles that he was asked to win, for being in matches that he was asked to perform, now all of a sudden, he's here. This means a lot. This is a WrestleMania moment. You know how we complain about we don't get Mania moments in the modern era anymore? You're looking at one. Because this means so much more than what a lot of people realize or pretend to not realize. I took off my cynicism hat. I took off my quote-unquote smart hat and enjoyed this match for what it was as a fan. Because I knew what this meant and I knew what this purpose was for. Credit goes to Daniel Bryan, because I know Daniel Bryan supported this move. I know Daniel Bryan advocated for Kofi to get the spot once Ali was injured. I know he was for it. Daniel Bryan made Kofi look like $1 million, and that doesn't mean Kofi wasn't a slouch. Kofi put in work. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be very clear here. This was the match of the night. Quite frankly, this is an early match of the year contender, in my opinion. To me, this was the best match of WrestleMania weekend. And that's right, because I did include TakeOver in this instance. This match was the best match of the weekend. Period. Period. Don't even try to convince me. These two went out there and put on a spectacular performance. It might as well have damn well main evented this WrestleMania. It might as well have. Kofi Kingston proved that for years, many people have wanted this man to get put in a certain higher level. For the years that MVP, that Crime Time, that Shelton Benjamin, and those guys that were all viable world title contenders but could never reach that ceiling. Here's Kofi Kingston from that era on this night. After all that, pins Daniel Bryan in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. Kofi Kingston. Kofi motherfucking Kingston is your new WWE World Champion. That feels good to say that. As a wrestling fan, I loved it. And I'm going to say it. I don't give a damn if you people feel uncomfortable. But as a black man, I embraced it. I saw the clip of MVP and Shad Gaspard crying. I've seen all the reactions from black wrestling fans that were joyous about that. That feels good. You don't get a lot of WrestleMania moments in this day and age. And that was one of them that you can be able to tell people down the road that you witnessed. Kofi Kingston deserves this moment. And damn it, he deserves his title. Like I said earlier, I was wrong. I was wrong. I didn't think Kofi should have been in the spot initially. I thought it should have been Big E. I thought that this was all rushed. I thought this is nothing more than WWE pandering. And I was wrong. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Kofi Kingston will go down as a WWE champion. He may lose it a month from now. He may lose it next week. He may hold it up till SummerSlam. I don't give a damn. The fact of the matter is, there is no more asterisk. There are no more excuses. There are no more prerequisites. There are no more and buts. Kofi Kingston, to me, is the first ever WWE champion that is black. The first ever black WWE champion. That is a moment. That is something I will personally cherish. And a lot of people should be happy for. I know a lot of people are going to say, you know, why people have to do this race baiting and why do people have to pander to the black people like that. At the end of the day, this is pro wrestling. At the end of the day, this is sports entertainment. It reflects on the society that we live in and the pop culture that it comes with it. In the era of the black athlete, the fact that the WWE still hasn't been able to even quantify putting a black WWE champion as the face of the company makes no sense. And Kofi proved everybody, including myself, wrong. And I deserve to be wrong. That man has worked too hard. Way too hard. Way too hard. For me to sit here and say Kofi didn't deserve it. For me to say Kofi didn't belong in that match. For me to say Kofi doesn't belong or deserve to be a world champion. My ass. My ass. Congratulations go to Kofi Kingston and the journey he had to go through to get to this moment. He deserves it, and he deserves all of your admiration. This to me was the match of the night. This to me was the best match from WrestleMania weekend, and I will have no argument otherwise. And that includes NXT TakeOver. So for all you NXT marks, kiss my ass. This was the match of the weekend to me. And that's just going to be a fact that a lot of you are going to have to deal with. Whew. Okay, I went a little bit too long on that match, but you guys understand why. You guys understand why. I'm sure a lot of you people knew I was going to go a little bit more in depth than other matches, so, relax. And granted, I will say, because one of my friends mentioned it, but they were wanting to see Big E or Xavier turn to deny Kofi that moment. I'm going to be honest with you, I would have probably co-signed that too, but I'm glad WWE went this direction anyways. It's fine. You don't have to do the swerve to do the swerve. It's perfectly fine. So, anyways, the next matchup after that match, of course, you're going to have a cool down. The United States Championship match, Rey Mysterio walking in, returning to WrestleMania, taking on the champion Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, believe it or not, having his first WrestleMania appearance, his first WrestleMania match. So that's pretty crazy to look at. But, I know a lot of people are going to be a little upset at the way this was played and the way it was short. I initially wasn't a fan of it myself, but after looking into it, I realized, look, you're not beating Kofi Kingston winning the world title. You're not beating Kofi Kingston becoming W champion. You needed to cool it down. So you might as well just go ahead and have Samoa Joe be a killer in this match. Besides, Rey Mysterio was injured apparently. Again, Rey Mysterio being injured, I know, shocker. But Rey Mysterio was working hurt this week anyways, so in order to preserve it, and honestly, nothing was going to match Kofi winning that title, you might as well give Samoa Joe a significant WrestleMania win while still being a dominant U.S. champion. Something that he should have been right from the get-go, being called up to the main roster. But it is what it is. Samoa Joe gets his victory. Rey gets some time to work off his injuries and what have you. The next matchup was Roman Reigns going one-on-one against Drew McIntyre. Now, I'm going to say this first of all. This wasn't really a good match. Quite honestly, I didn't think it was all that much of an entertaining matchup. I think Drew wasn't all that spectacular either myself, to be quite honest. Having said that, it doesn't matter. Roman Reigns, after being diagnosed with leukemia for a second time in his life and beating it for a second time, comes back to wrestle at WrestleMania. And he wins. To me, the match quality didn't matter. The fact that Roman Reigns came back from the adversity that he had to face earlier this year and come back and still put on that performance, I think that's what matters. Now, I will say, it's pretty surreal. So, afterwards, we had a little bit of a yeah, we had a little bit of a segment. Oh, oh, oh! Someone's saying that the stream was RIP'd. Hold on, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait, go ahead and hold on here. Let me can you guys okay, first of all, can you guys hear me? Oh, this is not good. This is not good. Wow, 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 what is going on here? What is going on? Ah, boy. All right, I'm gonna wait a couple of I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes here. Let me see if I can fix this here. Are we back? Are we back? Let me get a feedback if you guys are back. Let me see here. Oh my god. I was giving you guys some time to see if we're back. Sorry about that. I didn't know it shit on everybody. I didn't know it shit out like that. I apologize. We're almost done with the recap. We're almost done with recapping WrestleMania, so that way you guys can get your questions and comments. But let's see. Okay, yeah, it looks like everyone. Okay, it looks like everyone's back. All right, thank you guys. I apologize. I didn't expect it to do that. So, but it seems like everybody's back. So I'm just gonna go ahead and continue. But the next match, or not even the next match, the next segment has something to do with our resident singer here, Elias. Um, I don't know. Let's see here. The thing of this is that the Elias performance, it is what it is. It was pretty hokey. It wasn't anything too special. Pretty pre-recorded, but I guess it was a good way to set up for what it truly meant. Um, John Cena making his appearance at WrestleMania 35 last weekend, but not just as John Cena, but we're going old school, yo. Wickedy, 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 what? Going back to the Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena. I'll be honest with you, when I heard that when I heard Word Life blaring through the audio, man, I was hype. I was hyped as hell seeing that back. And it's like, I know John Cena's outgrown it, so you can't always be that guy. But at the end of the day, he still can show that he can still be a charismatic figure when he wants to be. So, John Cena coming back, I thought it was funny. I thought it was entertaining. It's weird seeing John Cena in this aspect because John Cena now has pretty much flown to Hollywood at this point. It's kind of funny, all these years in interviews of John Cena criticizing The Rock for not being here and saying that he loves wrestling or loves coming back, but he doesn't come back. And here's John Cena doing the same thing. I find that a little bit hypocritical. But I'm not discouraging John Cena for his move to Hollywood. He wants to make real money now. He wants to actually do real stuff. So I don't discourage him for that. He's got the charisma and the look to do it. But John Cena coming back as the Doctor of Thugonomics was pretty awesome. It was pretty cool. The crowd loved it. I loved it. Nice throwback. So kudos to Mr. Cena as he apparently has a new fling up in China, I guess, if you will. So your boy's got the yellow fever. So kudos to John Cena all around, right? So, anyways, let's see here. The next matchup. No holds barred. It's Triple H versus Batista. I need to drink some more water now. I'm getting a little hoarse. Water truly is the greatest drink of all time. Y'all gotta put some respect on water's name. But anyways, it's Triple H versus Batista, no holds barred. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This bored me to tears. This really bored me to tears. It was good to see Batista back at a WrestleMania because I know that he's been wanting this match with Triple H for a while to pretty much close out his career. And obviously, later on in the week, he announced his retirement from wrestling, so he got his wish. Um, Triple H's entrance. Oh, sorry. By the way, Batista falling. That was great. I mean, vintage Batista. Batista does things that, in essence, should be a botch, but he makes it to where it's funny as hell. So it is what it is. But Triple H's match, Triple H's entrance, excuse me. The Mad Max thing, I guess, not one of my favorite Triple H Mania entrances, if you will, but I don't think anything's gonna beat his 22 entrance. But for what it was cool. So, but yeah, Batista Triple H. I tried to fight it off for like 4 or 5 minutes. It really bored me to sleep. I actually started dozing off, and by the time I woke up, um, the match was over, or at least close to over. So the whole pliers thing that he did on Batista's nose ring was pretty sick in its own way. But other than that, it was just it's two old men trying to relive their glory years, and it is what it was. It didn't really mean anything. Um, I think Triple H needs to start thinking and realizing that his time has really passed. He's not that guy to really give out good matches anymore, and especially at a WrestleMania. What was the last? What was? And here's a question I really do want to ask, because this is something I've been thinking about for a while too. What was the last truly great Triple H match at WrestleMania? I don't think it was with Roman Reigns, obviously. I don't think it was with Seth Rollins, in my opinion. It definitely wasn't with Brock Lesnar. It wasn't with Batista here this year. What really was Triple H's best Mania match that he had last? I think it's a legitimate question. It might very well have been WrestleMania, I believe, 28. I mean, you can probably go back to 30 with Daniel Bryan, but that was more so a plot device to get to the real match for Daniel Bryan in his moment. I'm talking about the really great WrestleMania. I guess you can go Daniel Bryan. I guess that would be 30. But for me, probably it is the end of the era match with Undertaker in the Hell in a Cell. That might be the one. And in that case, Triple H has really been declining. You know, he's had some embarrassing performances at WrestleMania with the likes of Brock and Sting, and a lot of just really bland ones with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. This one just wasn't one of those better ones, you know. And Triple H, you know, we all knew that his match with Batista wasn't all that special at WrestleMania 21, as Dewitt just posted on Twitter on the chat. But yeah, I think Triple H needs to start realizing that he might need to just step down, period, because if he's not going to put on this great WrestleMania performance that he's used to doing, I still think he can do it. It's just that he may need the right opponent and the right setting to do it, and I think it just wasn't the case here. Obviously, Batista wanted this match to close out his career, but even then, the way the story was built was rushed as all hell. It literally came out of nowhere, like probably a little over a month prior to WrestleMania. That wasn't enough time for this storyline to be told properly. So, but it was what it was. Triple H, victorious. Batista gets to go out on top, if you will, and it is what it is. Again, these Triple H matches go way too long at WrestleMania, which is no surprise, being as he runs NXT. So that's probably a reason why I'm not a fan of Triple H's booking or philosophy over at NXT. Because Triple H is the kind of guy that wants to do all these long Broadway matches because he idolizes Ric Flair and Harley Race and those guys that used to do those type of matches. But it was a different game back then, and Triple H thinks that just because he's a student of the game, that can apply here, and I don't think it works like that or as often as he tries to do it. So that's just my opinion, obviously. But anyway, Triple H is victorious. Then we get to this shit show of a match here. Kurt Angle going one-on-one against Baron Corbin. I honestly thought that Baron Corbin was going to be a smokescreen for Angle's true opponent at WrestleMania, but they actually went with it. And I know Kurt isn't that guy to put out a really good, strong Mania match anymore. I know that Kurt is old and beaten up to where he can't even really move properly or move very smooth. I get all that, but damn, oh damn, this may very well have been the worst match of the night. I'm sorry for a match that was supposed to be regarded as his final WWE match, the match that he was going to leave on a high note for, a match that he can look back to as that was the match that represents me and what I am. It just wasn't it. I'm sorry, it just really wasn't that WrestleMania match that Kurt Angle deserves for the career that he has had in that company and for the career that he has had in pro wrestling in general. You're talking about a man that had some of his best matches in WWE and yes in TNA as well. And I can't believe I'm going to say it this way, but I can't believe TNA really did Angle's retirement better than WWE here. And that's sad. Kurt Angle's last opponent in TNA was Bobby Lashley. And we're talking about legit Bobby Lashley back then. Kurt Angle gets to lose and pretty much job badly to Baron Corbin. Why do people keep trying to make Baron Corbin work? I know people on Twitter were trying to say that he's a heat magnet these past couple of weeks, but who gives a shit? You know it's not going to mean anything. The only reason why it was a heat magnet because it was go-away heat. And even before then, it was only heat because he was fighting Kurt Angle, who people wanted to see win and go out on top. Now, I get it. The old school mentality is you, the veteran, have to be on your back and job to the new face or to the new talent. But you're telling me Kurt Angle couldn't get a better opponent than Baron Corbin? You're telling me that Kurt Angle couldn't get a better send-off than that. That's what you're telling me, WWE. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. You had John Cena in attendance there that night. Even if it was going to be a short match anyways. The same man that slapped Kurt Angle and said ruthless aggression was going to be the same man that could have been Angle's final match. Because Kurt Angle was the one that made John Cena. He's the one that gave John Cena the pathway through his career. And instead, because you think we're too smart for our own good, or because you're really trying to buy this Baron Corbin push, you let Corbin not only put on that pitiful performance, he's going to win over Angle in that fashion? What in the hell are you talking about? What are you smoking? And can I have some? Maybe not, because I don't want to be as stupid as those that booked that ending. That was a pretty poor match. The worst match of the night, by far. Because it did nothing, and will amount to nothing. That's how Angle's career ends in the WWE. The same thing you did here when Sting finally came to WWE years prior. Sting finally shows up to WWE. He's going to have his first ever WrestleMania match. And he loses to Triple H? Hell, he loses every match in WWE until he has to retire because of injury. It's like, you're doing decent to solid here at WrestleMania, and you still find a way to shit the bed. Quite frankly, after Kofi winning the WWE title, it started to deteriorate very slowly. Kofi winning the world title to me was the apex of WrestleMania because everything after Kofi winning it started to become boring, bullshit, or confusing. So, unfortunately, Corbin wins. I don't know if this means Corbin's going to be the one to be Seth's next opponent for the world title, or the Universal title, excuse me. I don't know that. Because they might really be buying this bullshit with Corbin. I'm just saying that Kurt deserved better. That's really all I'm saying. And we all know that he deserved better. But it is what it is. I'm not booking the whole thing, am I? Anyways, the next match, Intercontinental Championship on the line. Bobby Lashley, champion, defended against Finn Balor. Finn Balor coming out to his demon persona, which is always cool to see. As much as I'm not necessarily a fan of Finn Balor in general, overall, really, the demon gimmick is still amazing to watch. I'm sure live, but it's still amazing to watch as an entrance. I also did like Bobby Lashley apparently having Green Lantern eyes. I guess he's Jon Stewart in that sense. But this match, again, it wasn't anything. It was just another cool down before the main event, and it was just there. I have not been, and I've said it before, but I have not been a fan of Bobby Lashley's run here in WWE since coming back. I really haven't. The stupid shit that they've done with him, the things that they've made him do to make him seem less intimidating than his stellar, legendary TNA run. Quite frankly, Bobby Lashley, to me, is the greatest TNA World Heavyweight Champion of all time in that company. Period. And the TNA did it right. And quite frankly, and as much as I love Kofi Kingston and him having that moment, it should have been Bobby. It should have been Bobby. Coming back, it should have been Bobby. Either defeating Brock for the Universal title, but quite frankly, he should have been World WWE Champion as well. So that way you could have had WWE Champion Bobby Lashley versus Universal Champion Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Do you see how easy it is to use common sense to book the most obvious things, and yet WWE, for some reason, doesn't do it? Do you understand how frustrating it is to just think about certain things that could have worked, and then the WWE does the complete opposite? It's very annoying. But you could have done champion versus champion with Brock and Bobby here at WrestleMania if you built them properly. But it is what it is. Finn Balor becomes a new Intercontinental Champion. I believe that's the right call. Finn Balor is more of an IC level champion than he would be as a world champion, in my opinion. We'll see what Finn does with it. I'm sure he'll be a workhorse for that title because that's what that title does entail with this lineage. But it was a filler match. It was your typical Raw match. That's it. That's really all I can say about that. And then we get to the main event. We get to the main event that everybody was talking about, that everybody was hyping, that everybody said it was historic, earth-shattering, spectacular, every adjective you can think of. The main event that could do no wrong. Right? Winner-take-all match. Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey versus SmackDown Women's Champion, apparently, Charlotte Flair, versus Becky Lynch, the man, if you will. I'm going to say this now because I know the people that will listen to this will try to paint me as a misogynist or a sexist, which is funny as hell because you're talking to the guy that just finished off or is about to finish off the Element tournament in a matter of weeks, so that's pretty funny coming from those people. But, and speaking of which, I want to address this before I even get to the match. Thank you, shout outs to WWE for using the Element tournament theme song for your video package for this match. Don't think I didn't notice that, you know? I know you guys are watching the ACW Element tournament. I know you guys are watching the Glamrex Element tournament. You're not fooling me. I'm kidding. That was a joke. But, you know, that was pretty funny because I was watching with my friends. I'm the only person that would have gotten that. So, I got it. You were using the Element tournament theme. It's okay. It's all good. It's a good song. So, I'm surprised you guys didn't use it sooner. But, it's all good. But yeah, I just want to get back to the fact that, yeah, people are going to call me a misogynist and sexist for what I'm about to say in certain things, in certain aspects, and I'm not, and you know that at this point. Those are just people that try to use those words to try to disrupt conversation and label people to try to humiliate them and shame them because they have a different opinion than them. It's unfortunate and it's sad, and those type of people are miserable and pathetic, but it is what it is. But I don't give a damn. I just wanted to make that a disclaimer before I get into it. Now, I don't deny that this was a historic main event match. It's the first time the women are main eventing a WrestleMania. Thinking of the history of the women in the WWE, for them being a very, very, very niche product for a certain type of fan back in the 70s and 80s. You got, the Fabulous Moolahs, the Mae Youngs, the Mildred Burks, the Wendy Witchers, the Leilani Kais, the Alundra Blazes, the Bull Nakanos. And then you go into the modern times there with Trish Stratus and Lita and Mickie James and Victoria and Jazz and Molly Holly. And apparently Hall of Famer Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler, who look great by the way. And those type of gals with their bra and panties and lingerie. It's been a rough history for the women in the WWE. I don't deny that. NXT, but if you really want to be honest, FCW, they were the really first gateways of making women's wrestling serious for that company. Now, granted, TNA did that a decade earlier with the Knockouts, and Shimmer was already doing that by that time anyways, so it wasn't like WWE's the first to do it. I know the women's revolution likes to get convoluted and warped into something that it's not, but the facts are the facts. The fact of the matter is, the WWE were late on the ball, and it took Ronda Rousey in the UFC, it took the women's soccer team being as great as they were, and it quite frankly took the women's revolution happening in Shine and Shimmer and all around the Joshi scene in Japan and the TNA Knockouts for the WWE to finally say, oh my god, we're late, we might as well catch up before we really look like assholes around here. So let's not get that misconstrued here, okay? The women's revolution already began. It just didn't begin with the WWE, and I know WWE likes to use revisionist history when it comes to that, but it's good to educate those that don't know better. You know what I'm saying? So the women's revolution did begin. It just didn't begin with the WWE. I want that clearly put into task before I go further. Charlotte's entrance, I liked it because I know it was a very big nod to the helicopter entrance with Ric Flair back in Starrcade in the 80s. I think it was 84. Was it Flair for the Gold or was it Chi-Town Rumble, I think it was. I don't know. But it was one of those. But anyways, so that was cool to see Charlotte do that. Joan Jett, who I'm actually familiar with. See, you'd be surprised how much Hakeem knows his pop culture. So I knew who Joan Jett was, but she looked like she was rocking for Ronda Rousey. Becky Lynch coming out. So everybody came out. I'm here to tell you this right now because I love my fans. I love professional wrestling. As much as it's starting to push away from me these days, I still love it. I love my fans, and I love when people enjoy moments and matches and all that. This was not a worthy WrestleMania main event match. It wasn't. And let me drink my water because I don't want to get too hoarse here. The fact of the matter is that this wasn't a good match. For all the hype and for all the convoluted bullshit you put into the story, for all the nonsense you had to add to move this story going forward, the fact that you had to insert the authority in the McMahons, the fact that you had to make Becky look like a geek every single week by crying and pouting and complaining like she's almost an entitled brat. You weren't even making her look like an underdog. She was almost coming off as a brat. And thus, making the man gimmick obsolete. Let me tell you something. Let me give you a little hint here. For a lot of people that don't seem to get it. The reason why people were complaining about Becky these past recent weeks, because Becky Lynch's character isn't an underdog. The reason why the man gimmick, right, worked, because we had already seen Becky as an underdog. We have already seen Becky as an underdog. She got shafted and undermined and underappreciated. We're talking about the days of the goggles and the Afropunk stuff, the cyberpunk stuff, Becky Lynch. Talking about the last kicker. That was Becky Lynch as an underdog. We've seen it. The man was supposed to be a complete 180 from that. It was supposed to be a no-nonsense, no-holds bar. I will do whatever the fuck I want, and if you're going to stop me, I will knock you on your ass. That's the Becky Lynch that we were expecting, and it was working initially. And even the Raw after the Rumble, when Becky won the Rumble, that white-hot reaction between Becky and Ronda, you had it bottled up. You could have really made it something to where it could have really been a main event worthy match for this WrestleMania. But you couldn't do it. You had to insert Charlotte. And look, I'm not trying to really fully shit on Charlotte. I get that she has history with both ladies, so it makes sense kayfabe-wise. But Charlotte didn't really need to be in this match. She just didn't. Now, I don't know if politics were played in this entire build-up to get Charlotte in this match. I don't know if the company didn't trust Becky to carry Ronda by herself, so she needed Charlotte, who was a good worker in her own right, to carry her with Becky. I don't know if the company was fully invested in Becky up to this point. I don't know if they were getting cold feet because Ronda may be gone for good after WrestleMania. I don't know. But what I do know is that after all this build, after all this hype, after all this grandiose statements and PR movements and corporate speak about this match, it didn't deliver. It was kind of a dud. Quite frankly, I don't even think it was the best world title match of the night. As I said before, Kofi was the best world title match. It was the best match, period, of WrestleMania. And I said it earlier, it might as well have main evented. As short as Seth and Brock was, the story that it told that Seth was able to take down Brock with 3 curb stomps and finally defeat the Beast and become the Universal Champion. The story in that match was told better than the women's match here. I'm sorry, I think this match was hyped too much to deliver so little. I think this match was pumped up for certain reasons and purposes that we can all get into, but when it came down to the match delivering, it didn't. I'll give Charlotte credit. She was the best out of the 3, in my opinion. She was keeping the match together, in my opinion. But at times it was sloppy. And not just from Ronda. I thought Becky wasn't all that good either. I'm being honest here. I'm really not trying to hate here. I'm really not trying to be that guy. Because I know how important this moment was for those 3 women. And quite frankly, women that are trying to be in that spot in future WrestleManias. And for the company in general. I get how important this match was. But it didn't work. It didn't deliver. It wasn't expected to be what it needed to be. It wasn't good. And then the finish of the match, after all this heat, after all this quote-unquote hatred, after all this spitefulness, after all this anger, it ends with Becky Lynch rolling up Ronda Rousey 1, 2, 3 in an awkward pin. That's how you're ending WrestleMania? That's how you're ending this match? That's how you're ending this story? Becky Lynch wins the titles, and it didn't even matter. Which I called, by the way. Hakeem Adamas, by the way. But, I called it, because I said it on the newscast before this one. I said, they have convoluted the story so much that even if Becky wins the title at WrestleMania, the moment's been lessened. The moment isn't as meaningful as it was a month or 2 ago. I think I said this on the newscast prior to this one. That the fact that Becky, sure, she's now the double champion. Quite frankly, she's probably going to merge the SmackDown and the Raw Women's titles together. With the Superstar shakeup coming up, with the Fox thing coming up in October, the brand split's gonna die. Finally. Finally, by the way, and I'll get to that later, but Becky wins the titles, and it didn't matter. Or at least it didn't elicit the response it should have been. It should have been a roar. It should have been like, whoa! Becky's done it! The man's finally gone to the top of the mountain. We finally pushed her to where we have always wanted her to be. Main eventing at WrestleMania, winning 2 titles. This is awesome. And at the end of the day, it was just, Becky wins. I guess. That was the wrong reaction to have. I'm not even necessarily saying that she had to tap out Ronda, but quite frankly, that probably was the best ending to do. It makes Becky's win come off as a fluke. That's why it's a botch. I think people are misconstruing why this is really bad. The reason why it's bad is because Becky's gimmick was supposed to be in your face to want to rip Ronda's arm off her socket. For Becky to roll up Ronda in that fashion, in a very anticlimactic way, makes Becky come off as a lucky person that was happened to be at the right place at the right time, which completely negates the gimmick she's been building for months up to this point. This was a disappointing match. This was a very disappointing WrestleMania main event match. This, to me, was not worthy of this spot. I understand that they were trying to make history here, and they did anyways. I understand that they were trying to prove a point. I understand they were trying to push a certain narrative here. I get it. Some I disagree with, some I do agree with. I get the purpose of this match being where it was at WrestleMania. But the match didn't deliver. The match didn't work. The match wasn't worthy of a WrestleMania main event slot. And that's unfortunate because there was a lot of hype and expectations of this match. And they shit the bed with it. A night where Kofi Kingston makes history in his own way, becoming the first ever black WWE champion. On a night where Seth Rollins finally defeats Brock Lesnar and becomes the Universal Champion. On a night where John Cena returns as the Doctor of Thugonomics for the Attitude Era / Ruthless Aggression nostalgia fans. On a night where the Usos continue to prove to be the best tag team in the past decade. On a night, where Batista wrestles his final match in the WWE and calls it a career against Triple H. You end that night with Becky Lynch simply rolling up Ronda Rousey with her shoulders not even pinned to the fucking mat. And that's how you end it. What a disappointing WrestleMania. If Kurt Angle and Baron Corbin didn't suck that bad, I'm almost inclined to make this match the worst match of the night. That's how disappointing it was. Honestly. And I know a lot of Diva stans and WWE marks are going to chew me out for it. I don't give a shit. You know me. I don't give a damn. It is what it is. I call it how I see it. If you aren't brave enough to truly call out what you feel is genuine, then you're a coward. And I'm not a coward. I call it the way I call it. And at the end of the day, this match simply didn't live up to the hype and expectations we rightfully had it as. And that's a fact. Period. And that's how WrestleMania ends. With the whimper. So overall, what did I think of WrestleMania? I said this earlier in the newscast, but I did think it was better than last year. Because you know me, I wasn't a fan of last year's WrestleMania. I haven't really been a fan of these recent WrestleManias, quite frankly. I think the last true WrestleMania, like the last true WrestleMania that I enjoyed, probably was 28. The last true WrestleMania moment that I really enjoyed, besides Kofi doing what he did at WrestleMania here, it used to be Daniel Bryan's win, but then it became Seth Rollins cashing in at WrestleMania 31. That was my last WrestleMania moment to me. But in terms of a full WrestleMania show, WrestleMania 28 was my last Mania that I thought was truly great from up and down the card. This WrestleMania isn't one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, but it damn sure is one of the best. It was another middle of the road WrestleMania. I've got to be honest. You're gonna remember this for the moments, not necessarily for the matches. I'm not saying it was bad. Please understand where I'm coming from here. Kofi Kingston was the MVP of this night. Kofi and Daniel Bryan put on a quality WrestleMania match. Kofi Kingston made a WrestleMania moment. Um, the Usos again proved to be one of the great tag teams of our era, and it's time we start really saying that in public now. Um, but other than that, 6 months down the road, are you going to remember a lot from this WrestleMania other than what I just mentioned? Be honest. Be honest. Let's be quite clear. The only thing you're going to remember from this WrestleMania is not only Kofi making history, but the main event. At least the image and the importance of that main event. But it didn't even deliver. At the end of the day, what are you going to remember out of this? Can you honestly sit here and call this one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time? I can't do that. Can you even call this one of the greatest WrestleManias of the modern era? And the modern era would be, I would say modern era would be, let's go with 2010. Let's go with that. Let's go with that generation. Let's go with that era. The uh, end of the PG era / reality era, right? So let's go WrestleMania 27 up till now. From WrestleMania 27 till now, would you consider this WrestleMania a top 5 Mania? Maybe. It depends on who you're arguing with. It depends on who you're talking to. I don't know. I would have to sit down and think about that. But I don't think I'm going that hard. I'm going that far. I don't think I'm putting this Mania against 28 for sure, for 30 for sure. I don't know if I'm even putting it against. I don't know if I'm even putting it against 31. To be honest with you, or even 33, or even 33. So at the end of the day, this Mania will be remembered for one or two things. But at the end of the day, overall, it was just another middle of the road WrestleMania. I enjoyed it more than last year. Don't get me wrong, I really did. But again, it was just another offering from the WWE when it comes to WrestleMania, to where you just will not remember it. Um, 5, 10 years down the road. It's unfortunate. That's where we're at. So, with that said, we just went over WrestleMania 35 from New York or New Jersey at the MetLife Stadium. Um, you tell me what you think on the chat line. You tell me what you think on the chat room. If you thought WrestleMania 35 lived up to the standards that you had for it prior to this event, and do you really think WrestleMania 35 is a top 5 modern era Mania for you? If you really think that. Um, that's up to you guys, though. But we're going to get to our questions and comments. So I know that you guys have been chomping at the bit here for your questions and comments about WrestleMania and other things. So you guys can ask me whatever you guys want to ask me about. So you guys can ask me whatever you guys want. I know that there have been news about certain things that have happened this week. So if you want to get into that, we can get into that, and I'll address those things accordingly. But the Q&A line is open to all of you guys. If you guys have any questions and comments, you guys can post it in the chat room, and I will answer to the best of my abilities. So while you guys are doing that, so I can catch up, I'm going to drink my water once again, and I will start answering questions. All right. By the way, if I don't get to your question, if I don't see your question or answer it, just keep posting on the chat room until I get to it, okay? Because it goes fast. UWL asks, the Sasha thing going on, what you think? Yeah, so I knew that was going to be asked, and I want to actually address that now. So let me go ahead and pop this up here. I'm reading this from Fightful.com. Yes, I know. And the author is from that pussy ass bitch, Sean Ross Sapp. Kind of bear with me here. I was trying to look for another source elsewhere, but this is the only one I could find it, so kind of bear with me here. But I want to read the story here. So, apparently coming from Sapp here, Sasha Banks reportedly wants out from WWE, and the company is hoping that she will take some time to think about that decision before she comes up to ultimately resigning or not. So I'm going to go ahead and read the article here, okay? So you guys tell me what you think as I'm reading it, okay? So here's the article. Sasha Banks may want out of WWE. After days of speculation following her cancellation of the Wendy Williams show, Wrestling Observer has reported that Sasha Banks wanted to leave WWE over WrestleMania weekend. Fightful has corroborated with the story with some additional details. Now here we go. The Observer stated that Sasha Banks was under the impression that her and Bayley would have the opportunity to have a strong run with the WWE Women's Tag Team titles in an effort to establish them as serious championships. That didn't happen, as the duo obviously dropped the titles at WrestleMania 35 to the Iconics. For what it's worth, they have not heard any heat between the two teams. Now, it was reported that Banks was given a few weeks to think things over before making what the company figured was a rash decision. But Fightful sources throughout the week had compared the situation to the Revival. In January, the team, which is Sasha and Bayley, expressed their frustration backstage and were asked to ride it out for a period of time and that things would improve for a while. We were also told that Bayley was also clearly frustrated by the entire situation. Both sources within the company stated that Fightful spoke to say that they would be surprised if Banks was granted a release. In addition, there was also talks of Alexa Bliss gaining the upper hand on both Banks and Bayley physically on Raw, which has been reported throughout the week. We're not told if this was just to be a physical altercation or an actual match, but Banks and Bliss ended up going back and forth on social media on Tuesday, and that is the report coming from Fightful.com. My thoughts on this are, well, here's the thing. I know a lot of people are going to assume that this is a work. I know that a lot of people are going to think that this is just another way for WWE trying to play with the company's mindset. I mean, the fans' mindset that if someone announces they're leaving, they automatically are going to leave. Granted, Dean Ambrose, it's been back and forth reported if this is all a work or if he's actually leaving. He got a quote-unquote send-off the night after, on Raw, after the cameras went off. He got a send-off from Rollins and Reigns. The question here, however, though, is it real? And you have to ask yourself, is this real here, too, with Sasha and Bayley? Because if it is, that would be a huge blow. Now, I can see that the AEW geeks are chomping on the bit for this to be a thing so they can acquire Sasha and maybe even Bayley if they don't choose to resign. I think they're missing the mark here. I think they're off base here a little bit. I think this has more to do with Sasha's been frustrated for a while. And you can tell. You can tell that Sasha, as someone that knows certain people within wrestling, myself included, me, as someone that knows people in wrestling, I can tell that Sasha hasn't been enjoying her run as of late, and that this women's championship run that they had was more of um, a complication. It was more of a thank you, I guess, if you will. But here's my thing that I don't understand. If you wanted Sasha to stay by giving them the titles, why take them off of them at WrestleMania? Why do it? They were at NXT. They were on SmackDown. They were looking to really establish those titles as legitimate. I saw it, and now you take the titles away from them. What that tells me, and I could be wrong, and again, I can admit that because I've been doing that apparently tonight. But what that tells me is that Sasha made this decision prior to WrestleMania. That Sasha has been expressing her frustrations with the company for a while, and that they thought the titles were a consolation prize until they realized that she's still not happy. So they said, "Screw it, we'll give it to the Iconics," because they can't afford to have Sasha, who I don't think has resigned even yet, to have this kind of attitude. It's not at the behest of the company. Now, the question ultimately being is this a work? Or is this real? I'm inclined to say it's real because Sasha was supposed to be on Wendy Williams and canceled. Now, granted, people thought it was for family, personal reasons, but I do find it weird that she was nowhere to be found on Raw, but Bayley was there to face Alexa Bliss in a match. I I I know there's an old usage in wrestling that tells you assume everything is a work until it isn't. It's an old saying in wrestling. But I don't think this is a work. I think Sasha really feels underappreciated in that company. I think, and I'm not trying to really say anything too deep here, but I think she saw the success of Becky. She saw the way Charlotte has been revered as the legacy wrestler that she is, and that she was feuding with Charlotte a mere 3 years ago, back and forth. And now she's being stuck and relegated to purgatory, basically. I think Sasha knows her worth and feels that her worth is not being compensated enough in the position that she's in, and she may very well leave. She may very well leave if her contract comes up. Now, this is where the likes of AEW, this is where the likes of the Joshi Sheen, this is where the likes of Impact come in. If you're a true alternative, if you're a stable alternative, you can acquire someone like Sasha Banks. Because make no mistake about it, if Sasha leaves, it's a huge blow to this company. Because the company right now is trying to keep as much talent as possible to make sure that they have their ducks lined up for the move to Fox in October. The same Fox that has been acquired by Disney, by the way, through 20th Century Fox. I'll have you know. This is a big deal for WWE, and the revenue says it. That said, there's been a lot of frustration going on in that company. The article referred to the Revival. The Revival just lost their titles at WrestleMania. They're more than likely leaving when their contract comes up. They've been chomping at the bit with AEW for a while, so they might very well go there. You've heard the rumblings with Rusev and Nakamura. Whether they're fake or not at this point, I don't know. It might very well be a work in that own sense, but even then, they are starting to rumble as if they haven't been compensated for a while either. Naomi, another person that feels that she's not being given the credit that she deserves, that she hasn't been given as much respect as she deserves. Asuka, even though she hasn't complained on Twitter and on social media, the fact remains is that she hasn't been given a strong run or a much good asset to really establish herself as a prime talent for that company. And quite frankly, Asuka's not getting any younger, so it's now or never for her either. Gallus and Anderson, I think they're reported to leave come September, and they're probably going to head back to New Japan, if not AEW. So Sasha's probably looking at all these pieces potentially moving away from the company and saying, you know what? I know my worth. I know that in AEW, I know that in Impact, I know that maybe even the Stardom or a Sendai Girls, because Sasha is a weeb. See, I'm not even a weeb, and Sasha's a more bigger weeb than I am. I'm just like an anime fan, maybe a borderline otaku, and I don't like using that word. But Sasha would be bold enough to go to Japan and work Stardom. Fight the likes of Hazuki and Starlight Kid and Mayu. You know, but to me, if Sasha's really gonna go for it, she needs to go for it. Don't just complain and say that you don't enjoy it, but then you sign to a long-term deal, because then you start end up like Dolph Ziggler, always complaining that you're not being pushed, always complaining that you're not being given this and that, and then when it comes time to prove and tell yourself that you can go out there and prove your worth and take the risk to be something greater, you eventually resign and go back to purgatory. So it's up to Sasha Banks. If she were to really leave, she has all the leverage. She would be the one of the biggest free agents in wrestling if that happens. Whoever grabs her will be better off for it. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to assume for the moment that it's real. This is not a work. And if it's a work, it's a stupid one because it doesn't make sense. But anything can happen. This is what I'm getting at. Thoughts on the G1 Supercard of Honor show? I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch the certain matches I needed to watch. Ibushi, man, as the new Intercontinental Champion was pretty great to see. That was awesome in that match, Naito. Okada, Jay White. I gotta be honest, Jay White has been an impressive. He was an impressive IWGP champion. I didn't initially like him winning at first, but I was willing to give the benefit of the doubt, and Jay White's proved me wrong. That said, Okada's now back as world champion. I that is what that is. I expect Tanahashi and Okada to have another match with them in the near future. Jay White will probably be chasing. But New Japan, in my opinion, delivered. New Japan were the ones that delivered that show. They were spectacular. That goes without saying. As opposed to Ring of Honor, who quite frankly shit the bed at their end. They were given a grand opportunity in Madison Square Garden, the former home of the WWE. That is McMahon territory. They had a grand opportunity to be really a strong powerhouse. To be where they stamp their foot and say, we're still Ring of Honor. They had a chance to do some great stuff. And they screwed it up. They completely missed the mark. The Beautiful People. What is this, 2007? You're telling me Velvet Sky and Angelina Love were brought back? And Mandy's leading it? Shoutouts to Mayu. Her first run around in Madison Square Garden should have been a big moment. And unfortunately her opponent was Kelly Klein. Ring of Honor really needs to get rid of that Women of Honor fact section. It's doing no favors. Literally every women's division is better than Women of Honor at this point. The WWE main roster, they're better. The NXT women's division is better. The TNA knockouts are better. The Shimmer roster is better. Hell, even Shine's roster is better. and they're basically just leftovers from Shimmer. So Rise is better than Ring of Honor. It's Ring of Honor's division, and I don't even have to mention the Joshi scene. You already know what that is. So Ring of Honor shit the bed with that, and if they're not going to treat the Women of Honor division seriously, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it, and have them either be a part of the Mae Young Classic or be a knockout or something else, because it's clearly not working. Look at how many women have left Women of Honor since it was brought up and started. Deanna's now on NXT. Karen Q's now on NXT. Tennille, the former Emma, just left last week. Madison Rain's back in TNA or Impact, excuse me. Um, and then the likes of Taylor Hendricks and Veda Scott already left before that. It's just not good. Enzo and Cass showing up, ew. And I get it, it's in New York. I understand it, that's where they're from. But we're talking about the Ring of Honor here. And they thought to bring in Enzo and Cass. I'm not even getting at Enzo here because of allegations and all that. He's been exonerated, so the man needs to live his free life, and people need to let him live his free life. That said, though, Enzo and Cass, I'm sorry, is this Ring of Honor or is this the WWE? Ring of Honor really was a promotion that specifically was clear on stating that they are not sports entertainment, they're pro wrestling. And now here we are in 2019, and WWE is more pro wrestling than Ring of Honor. Who was calling that bet in 2006? Exactly. They thought that they thought that Enzo and Cass coming in was a shoot. It's just, this is why I hate work shoots now, in a sense, because this is why I can't stand work shoots in wrestling anymore, because now that everyone's doing it, we're going to always assume it's a work. And they mostly are. So, it's stupid. And yeah, the Guerrillas of Destiny won the titles, and no one's even talking about that. And Tama made that very clear on Twitter, even throwing the title backstage. So it is what it is, but again, Bully Ray wrestling there. It's just a shit show. Matt Taven winning the Ring of Honor World Title. I won't refer to a certain person, but he said that it's dead. Ring of Honor's dead. I don't know if I'll go that far in that sense, but it's very clear to me that Ring of Honor have lost their footing in the echelon or in the rankings of pro wrestling. I think WWE's better. New Japan's obviously better. I think Impact has been better than Ring of Honor in the past 2 years, and they're getting better, by the way, if you haven't heard recent news. But Impact's better than them at this point. AAA's better. MLW is better. If AEW really gets the piece together, they'll instantly be better than Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is going to lose their footing very quickly if they don't turn the ship around. Because if this is what we're going to get, then Jay Lethal might as well leave and come back to Impact or go finally work at NXT. John Gresham might as well get out of there. It's ridiculous. We all knew that the Elite were the reason why Ring of Honor got this draw at MSG. Now, granted, yes, they did it. They got the attendance. They got the people to come in. But let's be honest with here. Was it Matt Taven, and all due respect to Jay Lethal, but was it Matt Taven and Marty Squirrel and Jay Lethal that were the draw? Or was it more so the Elite and an extension New Japan the draw for MSG? Exactly. That's my point. Let's see here. Did you play the Mortal Kombat 11 beta, or are you waiting? I haven't played any Mortal Kombat in a while, so Mortal Kombat 11 is something that I haven't played. But I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to checking it out, though. I'm trying to get back into more video game stuff too, so that's not necessarily out of the question. How do you feel about the Impact Wrestling angle of killing off Allie? Yeah, I know that was a lot of mixed reviews about the whole Allie scene of her getting killed off on Impact 2 weeks ago, but I enjoyed it. In an era where a lot of people say we need to do things different or we need to try things outside the box. Well, here's Impact trying something outside the box Was it hokey? Yes. Was it a bit corny? Yes. But there was a certain endearment to that. Just like the broken hearted stuff. Yes, it was cheesy and corny, but there was a certain charm to it that made it entertaining. It was so bad, it eventually became great. So TNA or Impact, and I keep saying TNA, and need to quit saying that, but Impact, they do something outside the box, and people, of course, shit on them because it's Impact. Knowing damn well, if say AEW tries this nonsense, you wouldn't hear the end of it. If Ring of Honor attempted it, they would say Ring of Honor at least tried. If WWE was doing it, they said, well, WWE has a budget, so they were going to go with it. But apparently, whenever Impact does something, they got to still, first of all, refer it to as TNA, and then next of all, they got to shit on it saying they're killing the business. Yet here's Joey Ryan doing what he does, and yet Ali getting killed off is somehow wrong. It's ridiculous. Impact, to me, and I said it on Twitter, to me, Impact has become consistently, at least to me, these past 2 years, they've become the most entertaining television show in wrestling today. And I don't regret saying that. I don't regret taking, and I'm not going to take it back either. I think Impact is the best television show out of all the major promotions. Period. Thoughts on the Hall of Fame? Um, I know you really want to ask me about the Bret Hart thing, but just to talk about the Hall of Fame real quick, um, I I thought it was a pretty weak Hall of Fame, all things considered this year. It was more about tag teams, which tells you that they're starting to run out of some Hall of Famers now because they're either dead or just not there, or they don't want to be there anymore. So I just want to say that. But DX being in there, obviously it was a given. But although it's just going to start creating excuses for people to become multiple time Hall of Famers, and that's something that I'm just kind of iffy on. But the Hart Foundation, obviously, with Brett and Jim Neidhart. I know people wanted the 1997 stable there as well, but I mean, come on. It's bad enough that Jim Neidhart died, which is why I couldn't accept that Natalia did, but Pillman's gone. Owen's gone. Bulldog's gone. Did you really want it to be that depressing for Brett to be the only survivor there? I understand it. And back to the whole thing with Bret Hart being attacked at the Hall of Fame ceremonies. It was cowardly, it was disgusting, and it was shit. There's a reason why a lot of people, as wrestling fans, get shit on, and rightfully so. Because we come off as losers. We come off as idiots. We come off as people that don't know how to socially interact with people in a social and public setting. This man, Bret Hart, has fought cancer, has fought concussions, has fought a stroke that almost killed him a decade and a half ago. He survived all of it and is still trying to live his best life. And some jackass fuck thought he can come on stage and tackle Bret Hart? Are you out of your fucking mind? There's a code in wrestling, man. There's a brotherhood in wrestling. And trust me, again, I know this for a fact. There's a code in wrestling. We will be mad at each other. We can talk shit about each other as wrestlers. But when an outsider of that brotherhood comes in to do that against one of our own, we will always protect them, and we will always protect ourselves at the end of the day. Dash Wilder popping him his face and making him go to sleep was very funny and well deserved. I hope Dash and the Revival were punished for that, for losing the tag team titles because of that. I hope they were punished for that. They probably were because this company's retarded, but kudos to Dash. Kudos to the wrestlers that jumped up to look after Brett and get that fuck out of the crowd. And yeah, I heard it was a trained MMA fighter, an amateur MMA fighter. Didn't look like that to me when I saw his ass getting whipped by Braun Strowman and all those people. So, it is what it is. But hopefully, I'm glad Brett was okay. He came out the next night for Natalia and Beth, so it's all good. But Harlem Heat, I'm a Harlem Heat guy. I'm a Harlem Heat fan. They deserve their spot in the Hall of Fame. Um, a lot of people thought they didn't deserve it, which was ridiculous and ludicrous. They were one of the best tag teams in the '90s, in my opinion. Not top tier like a Hart Foundation or a Legion of Doom, but they were top 10 at the very least, in my opinion. Um, Honky Tonk Man being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion, I guess you can use as an excuse to be in the Hall of Fame. Um, Tori Wilson, I'm sorry if this is a legitimate Hall of Fame. She does not belong in the Hall of Fame. It is what it is. I know a lot of Tory marks and diva stands were trying to argue otherwise, but the fact remains is that if this was legitimate, Tori Wilson didn't even win a fucking women's championship, and you people think she deserves to go in before Molly Holly, before Jazz, before Victoria, before Gail Kim? No, 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 no. Again, a lot of you people were born way past the Attitude Era, and it shows. So you guys need to just cut the bullshit. I get to the WWE Hall of Fame and the certain politicking, if you will, when it comes to that whole Hall of Fame. So Tori, in that sense, deserved it. But if it was legit, no, no, Tori didn't deserve to be there. And quite frankly, I was upset, and I hate when they do these legacy inductions because it just is a way to put people in there that they don't want to put in by themselves, so they don't think they're a big enough draw to do it. So they just bundle them all together, like Bruiser Brody and Luna Vachon all being put together in that legacy induction. It's like, what the fuck, man? If you really want to do this as a legitimate thing, who gives a damn if they aren't the big draw? Say Luna Vachon isn't a big draw like Tori Wilson is, or that Bruiser Brody isn't a big draw like Harlem Heat or the Hart Foundation. They're still legends in their own right. At the end of the day, you induct them for their legacy and what they've done for the business. It doesn't matter if fans will cheer them or not. Who gives a fuck? They did too much. So, I didn't like that part. DX as the main inductions, as obviously so. Again, well deserved. DX, one of the more influential factions in wrestling history. Well deserved. It's a damn shame that China's no longer with us to accept it because this is what she wanted from day one in recent years before her death, and she ultimately didn't get that. And quite frankly, I'm a little disgusted that this is the way China's getting inducted because, again, the Hall of Fame when it comes to WWE is all politics. There's no way that they wanted China to be inducted in her own merit, even though China did a lot for that company and for wrestling. Did a lot of groundbreaking things that deserve to be commemorated in its own Hall of Fame spot. And the fact that they're just going to put China as a DX induction rather than her own merits is quite frankly trash. And I know why it is, but I'm not going to get into it. But we all know why. But China deserved better than that while she was alive. But other than that, DX being in that was perfectly fine with me. They deserve it. Granted, I'm not saying they're better than, to me, NWO or the Dangerous Alliance or even Evolution for that matter. So it wasn't even Triple H's best stable. But for what its impact was for the business, I have to give D-Generation X a lot of credit. A lot of them. Any recommendations on women's only wrestling promotions, Joshi promotions besides Stardom? Quite frankly, I think Sendai Girls may arguably be my favorite one so far. I like them though, and I'm happy that Stardom finally actually appeared here in WrestleMania weekend to show out what they're doing. I thought Stardom, quite frankly, along with DDT, stole the show at WrestleMania weekend in terms of all the other promotions. That's my opinion. But I am a fan of Joshi Wrestling. I think Joshi Wrestling obviously is the best type of wrestling you'll find when it comes to women's wrestling. Um, um, you know, I follow Stardom and Sendai. I'm trying to get into TJPW. It's a little bit more comedy for me, for my taste, but they do have a lot of entertaining stuff. And you got Sea Lining too, which is also a promotion that I frequent here and there. Um, but yeah, I'm a fan of Joshi Wrestling. You know, if you watch the Glamour X division, a lot of that is a lot of things are inspired from the Joshi culture and scene. So when dumb fucks like Sean Ross Sapp and Ryan Satin and J.E. Snowden and all these dumb white hipster fucks come over here to try to appropriate Joshi culture, someone like me has to correct them. and then when they get corrected, they have to be passive aggressive, and they can't admit that they were wrong. They just got to admit that you were just being an asshole. And it's like these people don't ever learn. That's why I had to shit on people like Sean Ross Sapp. So I had to block me. Now he unblocked me, by the way. Sean Ross Sapp unblocked me, which I don't give a fuck. Because if he says stupid shit, I'll call him out again. So I don't give a damn. But that's why that pissed me off. Because I do follow Joshi to an extent, and I understand the culture and history that they have put in wrestling, especially in Japan. And for people to just use their Western philosophy mentality to discredit everything Joshi has done is bullshit. Stupid fuck saying New Japan should make a women's division. Are you people lazy mentally? Holy fuck. Go buy some of the. Go buy Stardom World. Or go support these other Joshi scenes that need your money to stay afloat. Rather than saying have New Japan build a women's division. For what? So they can get one match a fucking show? Just like the WWE? Just like a TNA? Or just like a Ring of Honor? Shut up! Just shut up and write your stupid bullshit glorified blogs. Fucking idiots. Thoughts on the Vic Mignogna situation? Voice of Edward Elric and Bullet. Yeah, I have been following that privately. I won't go too much into it because I think those that have followed it know what the situation is. I will say this though. I am a firm believer of innocent till proven guilty. If you have proof, then that should be pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. It was just it's a sad situation because this is what people of that ilk will do to try to discredit a accomplished voice actor. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm just saying that people need to read up on the situation more before they make any concrete final judgments, especially on that level. Um, Unfortunately, that kind of stupid mentality that has affected the likes of gaming and anime is starting to come into anime now. It's unfortunate, but all I'm gonna say is that innocent until proven guilty is something that I truly believe in, and hopefully the powers that be will try to figure that all out. Let's see here. Got any more other questions here? How is HW commentator Hakeem Johnson doing today? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. I'm doing fine. Just handling some life stuff while trying to get Animania 5 done. I plan to have Animania 5 done hopefully soon. Hopefully by the time April's over. Obviously, schedule is subject to change, but I do plan on trying to finish Animania 5 fairly soon, so hopefully you can all be patient with that and understand that this is Animania 5. I like to make sure everything is put in place and everything is put in order in a certain way, so just give me enough time to figure that all out. Will you fall asleep on stream again? No, 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 no. I won't fall asleep again. I won't fall up. I won't do that again. Funny story about that. I thought I ended the stream before I did go to sleep. I thought I had clicked the button to where I ended the stream, and apparently I didn't. So everyone heard me snoring very loudly. Um, so yeah. um, if you were there live, you saw it and heard it. If not, you missed it. Never be heard from again. Um, if you guys got any more questions, you guys can go ahead and send them over here as we approach 10 o'clock my time here. We are almost close to the finish line ending this newscast. By the way, this will be the final newscast period before Animania 5. I wasn't planning on doing a newscast till Animania 5 week, but it was WrestleMania week. Things have been circulating. I felt the need to probably address them here. So that's why I did it. Um, but yeah, this will be the final newscast before until Animania 5 week, to where we will be having two newscasts that week. So that's why I'm telling you all right now to get your questions in pretty quickly, because this will be the last newscast until Animania 5 week. Anything else I'll answer on Twitter or elsewhere. Uh, those post Raw and SmackDown shows. Yeah, I don't know, man. I didn't really watch. I didn't really fully watch the Raw and SmackDown post shows. And quite frankly, it didn't really seem like I missed much. Taker making a surprise appearance to chokeslam Elias was weird, because it's like, why didn't you bring him for WrestleMania? But I don't know. That is what it is. Um, the puppet. I'm assuming that's gonna be the return for Bray Wyatt. But quite frankly, do you give a fuck? Quite honestly, do you really give a shit about Bray Wyatt at this point? I used to be a Bray Wyatt fan. You might even call me a Bray Wyatt mark. But Bray Wyatt in 2019, please, please. Every member of the Wyatt family you've messed up, even Braun. So you're expecting me to believe that Bray Wyatt's going to be taken seriously? Nah, nah. That ship has sailed. Um, the Hardy Boys becoming tag team champions, and again, another good added title run for a illustrious career. Hardy's going to go. The Hardy Boys, in my opinion, go down as a top five tag team of all time. Very, 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 very much sure. At least Bray got JoJo. Yes, he did. He got a dumb broad to tell him sweet nothings, and then got to pump some babies into her to where she's got to be stuck with him. I can't blame him, man. I can't blame him. JoJo can get the hammer, but you know, Bray. I mean, I guess Bray likes some brown sugar, man. Can't be hating, man. Can't hate at all. Which music albums have you listened to this year? This year, not a whole lot. Not really a whole lot. I'm waiting for Schoolboy Q's album to come out soon, probably this year. Um, I think what else? I don't know who else is releasing stuff right now. Kanye might be coming out with something this year too. Um, that's about it for right now, though. Um, Earlier you mentioned the Usos being the best tag team in WWE. In your opinion, who's the best tag team currently not signed with WWE? Oh, the Lucha Brothers. Easily. Easily. I don't even think it's close at this point anymore. I don't even really think it's close anymore. I don't think it's the Young Bucks anymore. As much as I'm not a big fan of the Young Bucks, I would always say the Young Bucks were the best tag team in the world. Because, see, you don't have to like a team or an individual to not give them their just due. I thought the Young Bucks were like the best tag team in like half over a decade. But now I think the Lucha Brothers in Pentagon and Phoenix, I think they've held the mantle. I think they are the best tag team in the world. But the Usos aren't that far off. It's what my point is, though. I think the Usos are number one or two in any given month. Like 1 month it could be the Lucha Brothers, the next month it could be the Usos. I really do think that. I think that would be another stellar dream match. Really, at the end of the day, when the Usos go to the Hall of Fame, they may be very well a top five tag team of all time in WWE, and quite frankly, they may as well just be a top team of all time. Because, like I said earlier, the Usos will fit in any era in WWE. Any era you want to pick, with the best tag team of that era, they will go at him, and they will have some of their best matches in their career. And I really do mean that. But yeah, the best tag team in the world that isn't signed by WWE, that goes to the Lucha Brothers. That does go to the Lucha Brothers. Um, by the way, I also want to give a little bit of honorable mentions and credit to LAX and Santina and Ortiz. They are on the come up to being one of those teams as well. So I want to make sure I do that. Um, let's see here. What are your thoughts on a potential Sky Pirates being called up next week? Well, if you don't want any spoilers, if you do not want any spoilers, lower your mics down, lower the volume down, or mute this newscast right now. So I'm giving you time right now. Mute the newscast if you want to, but I'm gonna give you a spoiler here. So don't get mad at me if I do it. You've been warned. But apparently, Kairi Sane did finish up with NXT within the NXT spoilers that came out this week. So she will be caught up to the main roster fairly soon. I don't have high hopes for it. Clearly, really, think of every Japanese talent up to this point, and even in their history, that have gone to the WWE and the mainstream public. It hasn't been a good batting average, if you will. Nakamura has had a disappointing run. Hideo Itami is gone. He left 2 months ago. Asuka had promise, but now they don't have anything for her. Now they're just treating her as enhancement talent. Um, it's not a good look for Kairi. Honestly, I don't think they're gonna get her. I don't think they're gonna really get Kairi. I think Io may have more of a shot because there may be more appeal on a mainstream perspective than Kyrie. I don't think they're gonna get her. I think they're just gonna screw her up. I think they're just gonna make her. They're gonna, and I know these stupid wrestling fans think every Asian woman that wrestles in WWE or elsewhere is a mini Asuka or a light Asuka. That's how retarded these people are. But looking at Asuka, I don't see Kyrie getting that same fanfare. She might get it initially, but I don't see it. And yes, now Kushida is in NXT now too. Kushida that just wrestled his final match with Tanahashi in January. Now he is going to align himself with NXT, which hurts me a bit because I've always been a Kushida fan, one of the best cruiserweights, quote unquote, in the world. And it's just that they're not going to get it right with Kushida either. Otherwise, Kenta would have worked. Otherwise, Sasuke got Anime 5 vibes. Kenta would have worked. Otherwise, Nakamura should have worked. Asuka was working until they screwed it up. I don't have faith in Kairi. Not to say Kairi isn't talented. Clearly she is. Clearly her appeal is immense. I have no doubts on Kairi and what she can do. It's the company that she works for. I don't have all that high hopes for it. I'm sorry. I really don't. And it's going to suck because I tweeted this on Twitter. But it's going to suck when Hazuki from Stardom gets picked up by the WWE too eventually. And she's got to go to this bullshit too. To me, I think Hazuki, Starlight Kid, and for personal reasons, Hana Kimura are my favorite, people from Stardom. So I don't have any faith. I really don't, and it's sad because they deserve better than that. But money makes you do things, folks. So you guys. Let's see. You guys have any more questions here? Let's see if you guys have any more questions. Just reading through the chat here. Are we ever gonna have any JoJo characters in ACW? Never say never, man. You would think JoJo characters of all things would fit perfectly with ACW. So never say never, man. So it is what it is. You'll never, you're never gonna be too sure. I mean, we'll see. Kenta couldn't just stay healthy. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Kenta had his faults as well. He wasn't able to stay healthy. Um, he just wasn't able to stay healthy, and a lot of start-stop pushes. He became pretty much a shell of his former greatness. You can kind of tell he was just not happy with that. So it's unfortunate. Hey, they are in UWO. Yes, yes, they are. For those that don't know already, ACW has aligned with UWL. UWL will now become our developmental league for ACW. I know a lot of people have this conception that UWL is now our NXT facility, and that's really not the case. It's more OVW than it is NXT. It's going to be more so that UWO will stand alone as its own league, but will also at the same time become a developmental league for ACW. So all the characters that are in UWL in canon now are developmental talents for ACW. So that's to be said there. Obviously, with the announcement that they will have their first ACW produced event called Next Level Brooklyn. That'll be happening during Fusion Week because Fusion will be held at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn as well this August of this year. So Fusion Week will be happening where UWL Next Level Brooklyn will be happening that week of Fusion. So that's going to be really big. And by the way, make sure you guys give a shout out. Make sure you guys follow UWL on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It would really mean a lot to me. UWL, Jeremy, who runs the league, has really done a lot of things for it, and I've been following it for a while. I've been watching the steps they've been taking, and he's doing a good job with it. He's really doing some great things with the talent that they have and what he wants to accomplish. So just give it a chance for them to really rise to the occasion. They're going to really probably blow a lot of people's minds with what they have in store. So you guys make sure you guys can go ahead and follow them on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It would really do you some good. UWO is some good stuff right now at the moment. Um, and obviously, UWO will have their showcase match during Animania 5 Week at ACW Direct. It'll be Sly Cooper, I believe the current junior heavyweight champion over at UWL, going one-on-one against Tiger the Dark, who you saw make an appearance at the Royal Rumble during the XL Rumble match this season. They will be going at it. Those two are regarded as the franchise pieces of UWL, so they're going to show out. Jason Brown will also be joining me during commentary for that match as well. So, again, give him a shout out as well. So, just make sure you guys follow him and do some stuff. Um, haven't you read my question? Well, you got to keep. If I haven't read your question, obviously, yeah, just keep posting on the chat. I'll get to it eventually. Thoughts on the Steelers last season and AB being on the Raiders? I do appreciate Antonio Brown knowing his worth enough to where he wanted to go to the Raiders to play football. Excuse me. I think the Raiders look solid, man. I think, granted, I don't think they're going to be able to move to Las Vegas anytime soon because I've seen the stadium. I was there in Las Vegas a mere month and a half ago, and I saw the stadium being built in real time. I don't see them going there by next year. It's really not going to happen. So, the Raiders look solid though right now. They look like the team to be beaten in the AFC in the near future. Um, NBA playoffs is what you're asking me, huh? NBA playoffs. I think I'm just gonna go safe and be like, I want to say the Celtics so bad, but there's something about the 76ers that make me want to say them. So it's either going to be, to me, it's going to either be the Celtics or the 76ers taking on the Warriors in the finals. So that's just my opinion. Why did Lucina screw Sakura on DCA Proving Ground 5 and VW Vindication last weekend? I don't know. You think like I know Lucina's mind or something. I don't know. You ask her. I don't know that, but um, it does prove to me my point that I mentioned at the bracketology of the Element Tournament that Lucina comes off as an entitled brat. She's gifted, she's talented, she knows her points, she can really go in the ring, but it's her attitude. It sucks. And that attitude is just really something that makes people not want to rally behind her. She comes off entitled. She's from a royal family in Ulysses. So these things take account for a lot. So it is what it is. Um, since the True King has retired, will we have any other Ultimate Muscle characters in ACW, whether on XL and Impulse? Again, never say never. For those that didn't watch the season finale of Impulse or haven't heard the news as of yet lately, Kaneka Man did announce his retirement on the season finale of Impulse. He is no longer going to be in active competition with ACW moving forward. So it's unfortunate, it's sad. Kaneka Man, a legend, not just in anime, but a legend as a wrestler. Quite frankly, a legend in ACW. The 2014 King of Elite. It's a sad thing how it happened and why it happened, but Kaneka Man will always go down as one of the greatest of all time. And me talking personally to Kaneka Man, I want to say thank you very much. Um, I want to thank you very much, Sugaru, for all that you've done for the company and what you've done for anime and everything else. So, thank you. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna give you guys. Let's see, it's 10:10 right now. I'm gonna give you all about. Let's see, I'll give you guys 10 more minutes. I think that's fair. We've gone pretty long here tonight, and I do appreciate it because I always like doing newscasts with you guys live here. It's really fun. But I will give you guys 10 more minutes to post any more questions left, and I will call it a night. Let's see here. Oh, wait a minute. Something's going on here. Oh, there you go. Let's say that was slowing down my connection here. One Punch Man Season 2. Yeah, that's coming out this week, along with the return of Attack on Titan Season 3. So I will be very much watching that. I still need to finish up on Promise Neverland. I still need to finish up on Mob, which I'll probably do this weekend anyways. Um, I need to watch Dororo. I need to catch up on that. Um, ReZero's coming back next year, I believe, or I think later in this year actually. ReZero's coming back, so that's gonna be awesome. I'm a big fan of that. So yeah, got my anime stuff catching up. Your thoughts on Sword Art Online Alkalization episode 10 on Tsunami? I don't watch Sword Art Online. I don't follow Sword Art Online. I think that show is quite frankly trash. And and look, if you do like the show, you like the show. That is your prerogative. But I'm starting to get annoyed with a little bit of these anime folks that are trying to bring back Sword Art Online to make it seem like we didn't appreciate it enough. No, the show sucked. At least the later parts of it did suck. It was just your typical run of the mill shonen anime. And Kirito might be one of the worst protagonists and one of the most unnecessary overpowered protagonists that I have ever seen in my life. And then the relationship with her and Asuna, probably one of the worst relationships I've ever witnessed watching. I can't stand that show, if you can't tell by now. So if you're asking why Kirito and Asuna haven't been in ACW yet, that's probably why. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Um, let's see. What are your thoughts? Oh shit! It just kind of passed through. Let me go ahead and find it here. Give me a second. I did see that. Let me see. Hakeem, what are your thoughts on my stupid ass New York Giants trading away Odell Beckham and now on the Browns? Yeah, your Giants are pretty retarded. Quite frankly, you know, and they'll pay for it. They'll pay for it this upcoming season. So they have no one to blame but themselves. And now Odell's going to Cleveland. Going to Cleveland. Ew. And you know Odell didn't want that trade. You know Odell doesn't want to be there. Who would? If you're a superstar in the NFL, why would you want to go to Cleveland? Doesn't make no sense. Demon Slayer is going to be the main anime for spring 2019 season. Yeah, I've heard of that too. I've heard of Demon Slayer too. I might even check that out. Especially after watching Goblin Slayer, which was a good anime, by the way. Kirito had a harem in which the dude had his cousin fall from. Yeah, see that's the bullshit why I didn't like Sword Art Online 2. That whole incest, call it what it is, man. That whole incest angle they tried to shove down our throats during that show was fucking retarded. And Kirito really fucking annoys me, dude. Just the way he comes about with certain things, it's dumb. I remember one time someone tried to say who would win between Kirito and Aaron. It's like fucking retarded because I don't even have to even account for Aaron's Titan form for this. Kirito, all things considered, is only great when he's playing a game. It's not like the man is really great in real life. So in that sense, Aaron can fight without him being a Titan. He can throw some hands. So Aaron wins both sides of the aisle. Period. So it's Aaron, but it is what it is. Um, did you ever watch Megalobox? I haven't watched it yet, but I know. But see, my brother recommended that anime to me. I just haven't gotten to it, but I'm gonna get to it. I need to get on Megalobox because I know I've heard some great things about it, and obviously, me being a boxing fan, you know, I enjoy animes like that. You know, Ippo, and all that stuff, Baki. So of course I'm gonna watch something like Megalobox. It's quite obvious. Is that it for questions, or do we still have a few more here? Let's see here. Have I seen Ayane's High Kick before? No, I haven't. I don't even know that anime. Sorry, dude. Thoughts on the Kodak Black situation after Nipsey Hussle's death? Again, it's fuckboy shit from a lot of these rappers, these new age rappers that do all this dumb shit, thinking that them not caring gives them some credibility or some street cred. It's fucking dumb. You know, Obviously, I'm from California, and this Nipsey Hussle death has really hurt a lot of people that have followed him throughout his career. I remember listening to Nipsey Hussle way back in my first year in college. Um, and it's sad that a guy that's been trying to do a lot of good for a lot of people within his community, a guy that was trying to do good to change his life around for the betterment of those like him, a man that was really trying to change the world in his own way, gets killed in his own hood in front of his store that he created, in front of his own kid. It's sad. And I know today was the Nipsey Hussle Memorial, so I'll check highlights about that as soon as I'm done with the newscast. But it was a tough week. It was a really tough week. It's kind of the reason why I pushed back the XL season finale because it was supposed to come out on Sunday, but Nipsey's death came out as I was literally gonna get ready to do it, but the Nipsey death thing came out that afternoon, and I was in no competition. I was in no mindset to do any ACW shit after that. So, rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle, to his family, to his fiancee Lauren London, to his mother, to his friends that knew him all too well. Um, Rest in power to Nipsey Hussle. I know that Animania 5 will be in LA, so we might do something special in that regard. Um, but it's sad. and hopefully people realize that this man was trying to do a lot of good, and somebody that was just an evil person took that away from everybody. So, favorite anime you've watched so far? If we're talking all time, it's Dragon Ball, followed by Cowboy Bebop and Prince of Tennis. Those are my top three animes of all time. I think I said that. I think I said that before too. In terms of my top three animes, it's the original Dragon Ball, it's Cowboy Bebop, and then it's Prince of Tennis. If we're talking modern times, um, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was a really big fan of ReZero. The fact that ReZero is coming back for a season two, I am hyped. I am absolutely hyped for it. Um, Attack on Titan. I think it's a great anime. I know a lot of people like to go, oh, these mainstream animes aren't all that good. You're not watching the real anime. Fuck off, dude. Attack on Titan's great. Fuck what you think. Um, there's a lot of other animes that I've enjoyed as well too in modern times as well that would take a bit long to really figure out. But those just a couple. Are you getting Disney Plus in November? Probably not. Probably not. And this is perfect for Disney because now Disney has acquired 20th Century Fox. They now own the likes of like Family Guy and National Geographic and the Fantastic Four, X Men. They're damn near close to owning the entire Marvel franchise at this point. Think of it, they already own Star Wars, they own Marvel, they own National Geographic. Now they got 20th Century Fox. The mouse is really here to own every goddamn thing in terms of entertainment. The only thing that's stopping them is probably a Viacom. This is what happens when you let monopolies run the world, folks. They take away everything that you know and love. It's going to be real funny in the next 10 to 20 years when the McMahons sell off WWE to Disney, too. It's going to be really funny. And for those that think that's not going to happen, WWE's heading to Fox in October. You don't think those negotiations won't start if once Vince steps down? Think about it, man. Really think about it. Greatest wrestling kill of all time? Oh my god. I can't name one because we'll be here for a while. I will name a few though. Greatest, in my opinion, greatest heels of all time. You gotta go with Ric Flair. The man was hated in the '80s during his time with the likes of Dusty and Ricky Morton and Magnum TA. Um, who else would be who else? I want to choose them carefully. Um, Jake Roberts is another one. Every action and voice that he said and did meant something. Eddie Guerrero is another one. His final few months before he passed away, when that feud with Rey Mysterio was some great shit, some really great stuff. Um, Bobby Lashley too. I gotta be honest with you, Bobby Lashley and Bobby Roode from TNA, both of them. I thought they were really great heels for TNA at the time. Bobby Heel played his best role ever since. His NXT World Title reign and his main roster run have not matched up to that TNA World Title reign in my opinion at all. He was at his prime when he was the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Quite frankly, WWE should have scooped him up during that time, really, because then Bobby Roode would have been the World Champion. Bobby Lashley, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, TNA World Champion of all time. And the fact is, he was a heel, but he didn't have to cheat. He could beat you. He could beat you legitimately, and he would have the credentials to do it. So you have to give Bobby Lashley that. And then you can go with others, Rick Rude and Bobby Heenan and Gino Hernandez, and you can go on and on and on with the greatest. But we'd be here for a long time if we had to do that. Neville, would he be one? In terms of greatest, no. But in terms of him reinventing himself, sure. I think Neville should get more credit for that. Neville really turned himself around as a true cruiserweight heel, gave some life into that cruiserweight division. How much money Avengers Endgame will make? They're gonna make a lot of money. It might surpass Infinity War expectations. It may end up being the biggest grossing Marvel movie of all time. It'll surpass probably Captain Marvel. It'll surpass Black Panther. This is gonna be the movie because everyone knows certain superheroes are leaving after this movie. They want to see the Thanos conclusion after from last year. Yeah, this is gonna be a big one. It's gonna be a real big one. But fuck all that. Fuck all that. That's not gonna be the movie of the year. The movie of the year is gonna be Godzilla. That's gonna be the movie of the year. Godzilla, the king of the monsters, is back. Godzilla's back. And all you people want to say King Kong. Fuck that dude. And I love King Kong, but he ain't fucking with Godzilla. Godzilla is back, and I can't wait to watch it. Whether I watch it by myself or with a couple of my brothers, I'm watching Godzilla in theaters. I know I'm gonna watch Godzilla in theaters because this is Godzilla. I grew up with Godzilla when I was a kid. I grew up with Godzilla, and the trailer that I saw for this Godzilla coming up in the next few weeks, oh, it looks glorious, dude. It looks fantastic, and I will be there to watch it, and I cannot wait. And I know, and I think there are, and I think I've heard somewhere, but I think they are setting up actually Godzilla versus King Kong, like an actual Godzilla versus King Kong movie. And if we're getting that, man, man, you've got to do that right. You got to make sure that those two go at it for a damn near hour. Be the movie that Batman versus Superman should have been. Don't have all this shit with Wonder Woman, although she was good in the movie. But don't have all this shit with Wonder Woman. Don't have a ridiculous villain that Godzilla and King Kong have to stop fighting for to coexist and beat. Don't have any human interaction ruin this fucking movie. Just have the two biggest beasts, the two biggest kings of our time, Godzilla and King Kong, beat the shit out of each other. That will be the draw you're looking for. That will be the draw of all time. All time. Anyways. Um what did you think of the anime Godzilla movies? I haven't fully watched the anime Godzilla movies. I know my brothers did. I will look to check those out before Godzilla comes in theaters, so you know, there's that. All right, it's 10:25. I think that giving you guys enough time to get your questions in and all that. So that'll do it for the newscast today. Thank you all for joining me for this impromptu newscast. As you can see, I named this 92.5, so it's a kind of newscast, but not really. But anyways, the next newscast will be during Animania 5 week, the pre-Animania edition, and then it will close out with a post-Animania edition. So the next newscast will be during Animania 5 weeks. So be on the lookout for that, especially considering what that's going to be in stake for that week. Speaking of Animania 5 week as well, I will have news about that next week. So be on the lookout for that in terms of Animania 5 week. Um, Other than that, I am going to pretty much be incognito because I'm working on Animania 5 as it is right now. So if you don't hear from me a lot on social media, it's because I'm diligently working overnight, really, on Animania 5. You guys know how important Animania is to me and how much I take it seriously to really entertain all of you. I do treat it very well as a entertainment spectacle, the pinnacle of CAW, if you will, and I do it to entertain you guys. So I'm going to treat this as big as I can. This is going to be our biggest Animania to date, so I want to do this with a lot of respect and with a lot of attention and with a lot of creativity. So if you don't hear from me so much, it's not because I'm on hiatus. It's not because anything really happened wrong. If something did happen wrong, I'll let you guys know. but it's just because I'm in incognito mode working on Animania 5 to make sure it gets done and properly put to the best of your abilities. I will tell you this right now: you will enjoy this Animania. You will love it. It may very well be your biggest Animania you've ever seen. It may very well be your most favorite Animania you've ever seen of all time. That's how big this is to me. It's been a anniversary season, and I know breaks here and there. We've been more than during the season, but this is anniversary season. This Animania is going to mark a lot of things that are going to come to an end. So I'm looking forward to it as we move on to the next season with with ACW. So there is that. So with that being said, I will see you guys all at Animania 5 week. If you guys have any questions, you guys can send them on social media. I'll try to answer them as I can. But that is going to do it for me today. Yeah. So, with that being said, I am Hakeem Johnson. Telling all of you to stay cool. Yeah, stay cool. Okay? I will see you guys for Animania 5 week. Later.